Welcome to our last spring training rally session for the season. For those of you guys that don't know who I am, my name is Mike Bauer. I'm the Director of Event Operations here at Comerica Park. This will be my 8th opening day in my current role, but my 21st with the Ilitch organization, so I'm very excited about that. Wanted to thank all of you guys for taking time out to be with us today. There's going to be a lot of great content that'll be shared with you guys, a lot of information that'll help you be successful at your jobs. Want to make sure that I say thank you to Ashley and Amanda and Lyria and Montez, who are in our guest strategy department. They work very hard in putting all this content together for you today. It might seem to you that as you guys come in and grab a folder and get your little name tag that it's pretty simple, but there's a lot of intricacies that went into planning this whole event. So we want to make sure that we thank them as you see them. Ashley's been greeting people today, so thank you to that group for helping us build this program today. So I want to get started with a couple different things that I've done for all these sessions. For anybody that's a new colleague, that this is their first season with the ballpark, please stand. Great, let's give them a warm welcome. All right, go ahead and have a seat. Now, for all of us that are returning colleagues, please stand up for us. All right, good. So this is the first time in all 3 sessions that we've dramatically outnumbered our returners versus our new people. But for all of you new folks, take a look around at all these faces. These are great people that you will need to get to know as you work throughout the season. They're good resources. They have many years experience here at the ballpark. So kind of remember a familiar face as you go through your training today so that you know you have a good resource when you have questions. All right, go ahead and have a seat. I also want to take a few minutes, take a few minutes and answer a couple of very big pressing questions that I'm sure you guys have. Number one, how many outfits is Mike going to wear today? I've got some bad news. Spoiler alert. This is what you get. This is the only outfit. We kind of took some of the feedback that you guys, especially the returning people, the feedback that you guys had, what leadership told us, and said, Mike, the outfits are too distracting. On top of that, my wardrobe team is on spring break this week, so they decided to give me the Marty McFly outfit, so we're kind of stuck with that. It's a classic look, and it's timeless. Hello, McFly? Is anybody home? All right, the second question that everybody wants to know is, how many terrible jokes is Mike going to tell? Well, I've only got a couple more, and there's a story behind that. So, my daughter's in 1st grade, and she's got a classmate named Seamus. Seamus's routine is he will go to the door when he gets dropped off in the morning, and the principal greets every student as they come in, and his thing is he tells the principal a joke every day. And I'm like, okay, this kid's really cool. I'm going to help him out. I'm going to give him some content. So one day I was in the parking lot, and they were walking up, and I said, Seamus, here's a great joke. Have you ever done archery blindfolded? Anyone? You don't know what you're missing. He kind of giggled politely and went about his day. So the next day, I told him, Seamus, you wear glasses, so tell the principal that yesterday you had to go get your glasses fixed. They had broke. Guess who I ran into on the way there? Everybody. See, some of us heard. He rolled his eyes on that one. So the 3rd day, I saw him, and I said, hey, Seamus, and he smiles at me and hands me a piece of paper. Cease and desist letter. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to tell too many jokes today. All right, let's go over some ground rules. Number one, the sun is shining today, so thank you to whoever is responsible for that. But remember, our facilities team is still going through and turning on the water in a lot of the places throughout the ballpark. So if you need to use the restroom, please only use the restroom in this location. That way we don't have any inadvertent messes that we have to clean up. So restrooms here, you'll have time after this large presentation to use them before you break out into your groups. I touched on it a little bit earlier. Ashley and her team put a ton of work into building this program. So let's make sure that we treat all of our presenters with respect, all of our group leaders with respect. It's really important that we get this information to you guys, and there was a lot of work put into it. So please be respectful to all your presenters. Let's a reminder, turn off all your cell phones, no recording, no scrolling social media. I really don't want to be on TikTok unknowingly. So keep our cell phones off, keep them silenced, please. Again, going back to the respect type of thing, if you see somebody falling asleep or not paying attention, kind of gently nudge them and remind them why we're here. We're here to learn, we're here to get ready for the season. And then lastly, before we break out for our group sessions, let's make sure we clean up after ourselves. The Delaware North team that worked hard in feeding us this afternoon, we want to make sure that it's quick for them to turn this over for other events and trainings that we have throughout the week. So, yes?
Place to put the pop cans for recycling, or we just put them in the trash?
Put them in the trash, and they will take care of that for us. We'll go over the agenda here. We will hear from our executive leadership, Chris McGowan and Keith Bradford. We will hear from our ballpark operations leadership. Some of you guys have probably noticed some of the projects that are happening around here as you walked in and walked through. You will hear from security and safety, some important information that we all need to know as we work here in the ballpark. And lastly, we'll have our breakout sessions. So we have various members of different departments that work throughout our organization to give you some additional information that will be helpful to you in the course of your jobs here at the ballpark. But before we do all that, we have a hype video to get you guys excited for the season.
Ready for war, never back down, give me some more. We came for the title, killing the game, dead on the rise. No mercy for rivals, this is for glory, this is our story. This is the future, this is my time, I grind and shine. Deep off the battle, I put in the work, can push the line. I'm holding my crown, I never back down.
That is a monster shot.
I never back down.
What a play from Riley Green!
Over now, I put in the work and push the line. I'm holding my crown, I never back down.
Javier Baez, word for the dramatic!
Can push the line. I'm holding my crown, I never back down.
Tied at 4!
I never back down. Yeah. Give me the crown. Yeah. The world for now. Put in the work and push the line. I'm holding my crown, I never back down.
All right, you guys excited now? Yeah. Good. I was happy to see a lot of highlights of Miggy. As we know, this will be Miggy's last season, so we're going to be doing a lot of things throughout the year to highlight his career, not only with the Tigers, but for his entire career. Next, we're going to hear from Chris McGowan. Unfortunately, Chris is not able to be with us today. He did record a video for us. He is the president and CEO of Ilitch Sports and Entertainment, and so we'll hear what he has to say now.
Welcome. My name's Chris McGowan. I'm the president and CEO of Ilitch Sports Entertainment, and we hope you're excited to join us for what promises to be a memorable Detroit Tigers season. The Tigers are a charter member of the American League and one of the most iconic organizations in all of sports. Everywhere you go, you will see fans proudly wearing the Old English D. The Tigers are synonymous with Detroit, and we take great pride in representing the rich history of our city. There's also tremendous momentum with our current ball club. President of Baseball Operations Scott Harris brings an innovative, trailblazing philosophy to Detroit and a methodical approach to scouting and developing talent. We're also excited to see our talented young players perform alongside one of the all-time greats in Miguel Cabrera in his final season of his career. At Ilitch Sports Entertainment, we wake up every day with a passion to amaze, inspire, and unite our guests and colleagues. The best part of working for our organization is the people. We have an incredible group of talented, creative, and hardworking colleagues, but it's the positive, infectious energy that they bring to the office and our events that showcases the environment we have created. You will truly enjoy being a part of our culture. I encourage you to get to know your fellow colleagues throughout the season. Ask about their families and friends. Everyone has a unique story, and we want you to be comfortable sharing yours. Our event colleagues are the heart and soul of our organization, and each and every encounter has an impact on our guest experience. We're counting on you to give us your best. Greet our guests with a smile, and I wish you a great and rewarding season. We'll see you at the ballpark soon. Go Tigers.
A couple things I want to make sure that we emphasize that Chris mentioned. You guys as our event staff are the heart and soul of our organization, and we count on you incredibly to provide a warm smile and an excellent experience for our guests. So don't forget how important your role is in our organization. Next, we'll hear from Keith Bradford. Keith Bradford is the president of Olympia Development and the District Detroit. He's involved in a lot of the development around our venues, whether it's the Eddystone or the arena or anything like that, and he's been instrumental in helping us analyze a lot of our elements that Ashley and Amanda's department, the guest strategy department, are involved in, and also some of the elements that we are going to teach you guys over the next couple hours here in training. Unfortunately, Keith, too, needed to record a video, but you might recognize him from last year's training.
Hello, my name is Keith Bradford. I'm the president of Olympia Development and the District of Detroit. I want to welcome each and every one of you to the Tiger Rally today. Let me tell you, I've seen what's ahead of you, and you're in for a treat today. A ton of excitement and fun, and a great deal of learning is ahead of you. I'm a big believer that all individuals need purpose in life, and I think working for a company, that should also happen. Here at Illich Sports Entertainment, it is our purpose to amaze, inspire, and unite. And all of you have the power to do just that. And in fact, we measure your ability to do that with our guest satisfaction scores. After every single game, we talk to our guests and they tell us how much you in fact do amaze and inspire, unite them. In fact, when we measure that, what we determine is that guests tell us 70% of the time their experience is excellent. It is absolutely perfect. And you are a big part of that. And know that when they have that kind of experience, their propensity to come back, their desire to come back to the ballpark goes up exponentially. Now, we know every experience is not perfect. Every now and then, something goes wrong. Maybe the hot dog's too cold or the beer's too hot. And that's where you can step in and play a major role in guest recovery. When a guest does have a problem and one of our colleagues step in and solve that problem, their scores go even higher. You have an extremely important role in what you do to make sure that our guests enjoy each and every visit to the ballpark, and I know you will do just that. Enjoy your session today, learn a ton, ask tons of questions, and most of all, have fun, because that's what we're here to do. Enjoy your time.
Okay, big thing to remember from Keith's video is what? Your purpose. Your purpose is what? To amaze, inspire, and unite. So as you go through your training today, as you go through your workday here and any of the events that you might be working, remember that that's why we're here. We're here to amaze our guests, inspire our team, and unite all of us. Last but not least, we're going to hear from Chris Lawrence, who's the VP of Ballpark Operations here at Comerica Park. Unfortunately, Chris is here to speak with you. So we're going to hear from him, where he's going to talk about a lot of the projects that we've been doing around the ballpark and the things that we are doing to get ready for the season. Let's give Chris a warm welcome.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everybody. It's great to see a lot of returning faces, but also so many new faces. I think those of us that are returning and used to their returning are certainly going to welcome the new faces here. The last couple of years, you know, it's been up and down in terms of trying to really solidify our staff. So it's been encouraging these last couple of days to see so many new faces here. So welcome to a part of the family, and look forward to having a great season and many years to come with you guys. Before I get into talking about some of the items and you might see new that you've probably heard about in the media, I wanted to kind of follow up on some of the things that Mike, Chris, and Keith had touched on earlier. If you leave here with nothing else today, what I would ask is that you think about and remember the impact and the ability that you all will have throughout the season to transform people's experiences when they come here. You all are the first line of defense, sometimes literally, but you're the first touch point with people as they come through the gates. Whether you're a ticket taker, whether you're in guest services, whether you're on the grounds crew, whether you're in security, housekeeping, it doesn't matter. You will all eventually interact with a fan or multiple fans throughout the year. And you never know, like one of those fans, it might be their first time here at the ballpark. It might be their first baseball game that they ever come to. Could be a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid who's here for the first time, wide-eyed, and who's excited to come down here with his family. And maybe it's a Tuesday night in May, and we're playing Kansas City, and maybe the fans or the stadium isn't as full as we would like. But for that kid, that's the greatest moment in his or her life at that time. And you all and us have the ability to make that memorable and special. I mean, I can recall growing up back home where my folks and I grew up in Philadelphia. I mean, I remember going to sporting events all year round with my dad, with my grandparents, my uncles, my brother, my friends. And those memories, those still stick with me. And I'm passing those down to my children now and really cherishing that. So don't underestimate the impact that you can make on any given night. Like I said, it's a long season. There's 81 home games, right? It's chillier in April and September. It gets warm and hot during long homestands in July and August, right? But that's our job. That's why we're here. We talk about, the amaze, inspire, unite purpose. Hang on to that feeling and remember that during some of those dog days of summer, or an 8th or 9th game of a 10-game homestand when you're here and you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel to have a couple days off. That's our role. That's our purpose. That's why we're here, and that's a great responsibility that we have to really, cherish and shape people's memories, experiences that they're going to carry with them for the rest of their lives. So if you leave here with nothing else today, keep that in the back of your mind as you go through the year, and hopefully years that you're here, because it's a pretty cool and treasured thing that we have to do. All right, so you probably have seen or heard of most, if not all of these, but I want to touch on a couple new elements here at the ballpark that you're going to see, our fans are going to see, our players are going to see. And the first one I want to start off is, and first thing I'll say, so some of this stuff is not public yet. Not that I anticipate any or all of you to go break news prior to home opener, but I would ask that we are sharing some stuff today that isn't public. Let's just keep that between us for now. I think we have a What's New at the Ballpark event on either the 31st or the 1st of April, where we'll invite media into this room and really launch a lot of that stuff. But for the next 2 weeks, it's still kind of under wraps. Some of the details have been shared, but some of them haven't been. So I'm going to touch on some of those today. The first is probably what you all have seen when you come through here, and some of you might have taken photos. I would ask that you don't share photos of the fence until we get out there. Our players haven't seen it. They've seen like rough sketches, and they have a mental picture of what the fence is going to look like now, but I think we're kind of excited to see them come up the dugout steps and get out there and look and see that. That's a cool thing for them. I know that's been talked about for a long time here historically, and there was a lot of thought and planning went into the specifics of the fence. It was kind of cool to see the baseball operations team go through and plan that. It changed dimensions probably 3 or 4 times. We obviously went through some leadership transitions in the middle of the season that kind of derailed us a little bit, but I think it's going to add excitement. It's more than likely going to add runs and some of the things that really keep the game moving and growing in the right direction. But there was a lot of science behind it as well too, right? We didn't want to take away a lot of the triples and the excitement that are here at the ballpark that this place is known for. So the fence project is moving along really well. You'll see I think probably close to 90 to 95% of the steel structure is up right now and should be done by the end of this week. And then starting next week, there's 8-foot sections of padding. They're going to literally just be hooked on to that steel structure and live there. And then Heather and Kyle and their team and the rest of the grounds crew will get out there. They're anxiously awaiting the ability to get out there and kind of clean up the warning track a little bit. But I think it's going to be cool. There'll be, it'll be 7 feet all the way across, so it's uniform height to add some defensive excitement, if you will, some of those home run catches and robbing home runs. But it's something that I think everyone's looking forward to, and the fans are eagerly awaiting it. So you'll see that here today, but that is certainly a project that's taken a while. But it's well underway and should be complete here in the next week to week and a half, and you guys will see it live come April 6th. So we're excited about that one. Shifting gears to what was formerly known the Pepsi Porch. Here's one of the items that is somewhat new. So the Pepsi Porch is going to be changing names. It's going to be called the Comerica Landing moving forward. So there'll be a new sign that gets installed hopefully this Friday, weather dependent. That'll go up there, but the porch itself will again be renamed the Landing, the Comerica Landing. That's not public yet. We'll be releasing that in a couple weeks. The majority of the space will remain the same, with the exception of the seats to the left and the right of what was the Coppercraft bar, which is going to be called the Miller Lite Lounge now. But if you can see or you remember, there are drink rails with some mesh swivel seats on either side of the bar out there. Those are going to be removed, and there's going to be an Adirondack-style chair that's added in there for more of a casual atmosphere. And the sales team is going to be selling that as part of group sales packages. So currently our group sales department doesn't have a location within the park that they can sell to a group that has sight lines to the field for a group to actually sit and watch the game, but also enjoy food or drink. So right now you're up in the 200 or 300 level with your group. You then have to go to one of the plazas or decks to get your food and mingle, and you can't see the game. You're detached from it. It's a cool sight line, with Woodward out there, but you can't see the baseball game. So in this capacity, I think there's 102 or 104 seats that are going to be added. They'll be chopped up into kind of 4 distinct sections, and then the group sales, based on demand, will have the ability to sell them, in terms of 1 section, 2, 3, and or potentially 4 sections that will remain. It's still open to the public, so the public can still come up, access the new lounge. They can go into the Miller Lite tap room on the back. As well too, but the seats will be, for the most part, reserved for group sales, and that'll be communicated to you guys, in advance as part of the daily calls and sheets, with the hope of, success there that can build it out throughout the year where it's entirely groups. The seats in front of the lounge, the Half Moon reserve tables, those will remain as is. Those are going to stay consistent and sold the same way they have been. It's really just the seats on the right and the left of the bar that are going to be changing out, as well as the addition of changing the name to the Comerica Landing. Moving around the concourse on the lower level, we've had tremendous success with the new concession stands out in left field and the bar that was added out there, the Chevy Pavilion, and then the concession stands at 151 and sections 149, the Blue Moon Bistro and Miller Lite Market. So we're going to continue that down the third baseline. If you look at the concession stands at 141 and 143, that was formerly a walk-up, belly-up daiquiri stand. And on the right side, what was called a Big League Grill that just did traditional fanfare, chicken fingers, burgers, dogs, popcorn, soda, beer, whatever. That has been completely gutted and renovated to mirror what you see at 149, 151 for that more grab-and-go, quick service experience where you don't necessarily have to wait in line. If someone's getting food and you just want a drink, you can go up, grab a drink, go check out. So you'll see that has been transformed if you walk by there today or when you're here for your first game. The stand on the left, the daiquiri stand, it's not a full grab and go. The unit has been recessed a little bit, cleaned up. You can't see those ugly daiquiri machines that were there before that just wasn't real appealing. It's kind of all hidden and dressed up where you can just kind of see what flavor you want to select. But it's a little bit recessed to kind of create less traffic, if you will, in the concourse to keep people moving through there. So I think we're excited about the success we saw with those 2 stands and looking to kind of replicate there and just kind of continue that as we look to transform the F&B experience. And a big part of that is, here's another breaking news story for you that I'd ask that you keep under wraps. We're going to look to introduce more Detroit local restaurants and flavors. I know we've taken some small strides with that over the last couple years, but this year I think we're taking a big step. So at section 149, that concession stand, restaurant Taqueria El Rey. Some of you may or may not know it. Mexican restaurant, really popular. We got great feedback from our fans. That's going to be introduced into that stand. They're going to be selling their products out of there. You'll still be able to get some other fanfares in there, but it's primarily going to be, their products and their menu items that are delivered through there. And then at the newsstand at 143, Green Dot Stables is going to be offering sliders and other ones. So that's a consistent ooh and ah that we've heard for the last 3 days, which is cool, which is great. I think we got to be ready maybe for some queuing there, but the Detroit scene and the food scene here is really growing, and it's a really popular trend in the sport and entertainment world to kind of introduce some of these local restaurants and themes into sport and entertainment venues. We actually already have a pretty robust offering. And we have to do a better job of storytelling that to our fans, of letting them know what local Detroit and Michigan-based products that we have to offer, because we do have a lot. It kind of gets lost in the shuffle here, and we need to do a better job telling that story. But at 49 and 43, we're excited about introducing those 2 new restaurants to our portfolio. Burt's Barbecue will come back in a more semi-permanent fixture this year. So we kind of moved them around the concourse a little bit last year as a trial. For those of you who've been here before, the Brush Fire Grill, which is kind of behind section 1, let's call it 128, 130, somewhere in that area. I hope I'm right. Someone's going to call me out on that. But either way, there was a daiquiri stand up there that was used probably less than 5% of the games. That's been converted, and that's going to be their home base, at least for this year. So there'll be permanent signage there. I think kind of literally the flavor of what they have to offer, the smoke, the ambiance that they provide, I think is going to be a really cool amenity for all of you, and most importantly, our fans to kind of enjoy and experience. So you'll see that, you'll smell that, and hopefully get to enjoy some of that throughout the year as well. So we're excited to have them back. And then we had some really good success around the All-Star break towards the end of last season. One of the brick concession stands and portables just below us here at section 116, we did a rotating local restaurant every weekend of some smaller based restaurants within the Detroit area that was a great opportunity for them to get exposure and continue to grow them. It was great for our fans to get to know them, get their product and their word of mouth out. So it was a really cool thing, is kind of doubled up of what we're doing with the district to try to really build the whole space out and expose Michiganders to all of what some of the local Detroit offerings have to offer. So that will continue. We have a full plan, robust plan built out for the entire year to populate that space on select nights. The majority of games, won't be every game, but the majority of games that'll be at section 116, kind of a rotating local Detroit theme, which the vendors are really excited to come back. We had, I think, every vendor that was here last year wanted to come back. We had people, knocking our door down to come back and be a part of that who weren't here last year. So it was a really successful program, and we're building on that as well, too. A couple of things that will impact the players I'll touch on next. The first is we have a new lighting system that was installed, and some of you may or may not have seen that over the winter, where we removed the old light fixtures and then just installed new ones. It was actually done via helicopter. Both the removal and the install was pretty cool. If you get a chance, you want to Google it. There's videos that were shown. The media was here. It was a little bit kind of scary or intimidating if you didn't know what was happening and you're driving down Woodward and all of a sudden there's a helicopter carrying a whole steel structure of 16 lights just floating down the city. But nonetheless, it was done. It was amazing. They literally removed all the lights in 4 hours and installed the new ones in less than 4 hours. So just the ability to do that was really cool, especially in what could have been a harsh winter. But we were able to get that done. And I think today or tomorrow, and all their terminations and connections are set to be complete. The lights have been on, but we should be getting control of that from the contractor here soon to let our electricians kind of just get familiarized with that. So not only does that impact the playing field and the players, it impacts the fans that are in here. It's going to be a cleaner, crisper kind of look and feel. It'll improve the broadcast look and feel. If you're watching at home, you'll probably notice a subtle difference, especially if they show before or after photos. It's all been engineered and designed for proper coverage out in the field. And there's also some game experience elements that are part of that, where the lights can sync and dance with music. So if you think about kind of mid to late summer, end of game, Tigers win, the lights can dance with a choreographed song. So there's like 6 or 7 program songs that make the lights dance, and it all syncs up. It's a really cool show. It's been popular in a lot of football and baseball stadiums around. You can probably find some images on YouTube or whatnot, but our game entertainment group is working through that right now. So, that obviously is something that we've been looking to do for quite a while. It helps us with utilities. It helps us be more green, more energy efficient, and, not to mention the look and feel and just kind of the display element that it'll do in bowl, in stadium, but also on TV. The last piece I want to touch on is something you might have read about at the onset of spring training. There wasn't much published about it, but our owner was able to go down and meet with the players and kind of talk about some stuff that they're doing. And I think this project, which is some upgrades, significant upgrades to the home clubhouse, I think really symbolizes kind of where we are as an organization right now. Chris McGowan talked about Scott Harris and kind of a new look and feel on the baseball operations side, which, I can tell you I've been here now almost 4 years. It is a different energy and a different feel with Scott and some of the guys that he's brought into his team. But we had the ability from ownership down to really invest in the home clubhouse, upgrade their food offerings, kind of give them a top of the line kitchen within the clubhouse space, and then just add some other amenities that have kind of been lingering for a while. There's some things that we've been talking about for a few years, but haven't been able to get them off the map. But it's literally a mad sprint right now down there. I mean, there's 6 or 7 contractors in every room doing things, painting, doing electrical, doing plumbing, doing HVAC work, and we're on track to hit opening day, which is great. The players haven't seen any renderings, haven't seen any images, but I know they're really excited about it because it was a lot of feedback that Scott got from the players was their ability to cook and, you know, have a world-class meal before and or after games, which is so important for professional athletes these days. You know, and we were able to provide them stuff before, but this just takes it to a whole another level. It kind of gets us at the top of the, you know, across Major League Baseball. It's going to be literally a world-class kitchen in there that's going to be able to service them. All kinds of ethnicities are going to be able to serve, and we put a lot of time and energy into every detail of that. So it's something that, again, like there's a lot of paint. You'll notice some fresh paint down on the service level. It just kind of is a change, you know, and it's a symbol of where we are, of kind of changing, going in a different direction. Not that things weren't on the right path before, so to speak, but it's a new day, it's a new dawn, and with Scott and his team in here and the commitment from the top down, from ownership down, to really do this right and really make sure that what we're offering out in the field matches what the fans, you know, expect, and, you know, then it's our ability or our job to kind of deliver the in-game experience for them. I think it just really symbolizes kind of where we are and, you know, where we hope to get to in the very near future, at least on the field. So, you know, those are the things that you'll see and notice throughout the year here. Again, I want to thank you guys all for coming. I know it's a little bit of it's a long day, but I know we've changed this up with some feedback from you guys who have been here before to give you more movement and hear from different people and really educate yourself. You'll get a lot of information here to process, so do your best to do that. But again, keep in mind and remember, like, the ability that we have on a game day to change people's experiences and give an amazing experience for people as they come through here. You never know who you're going to run into, whether it's their first game, somebody that's directly related to, you know, a player, the owner, whatever. You know, it goes a long way. You'd be amazed at the stuff that we hear about. So thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for everything you will do. I look forward to seeing you around, and please stop me, say hi, introduce yourself if I haven't had a chance to meet you. But welcome, and have a great season. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Johnny Jackson to touch on some security elements here at the ballpark. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Good afternoon. So as Chris said, I'm Johnny Jackson. I am the Director of Training and Compliance for Illich Sports and Entertainment. And today we're here for new colleagues, I see a lot of new faces, and returning colleagues. Today we're going to give you an overview of the security and safety program for Comerica Park and then some of the things that will be new and exciting for this upcoming season. Okay? This all starts out with our management team. To the left is Richard Fenton, our Vice President and Chief Security Officer. Rick's in charge of all of Illich Holdings, including Little Caesars Pizza and Motor City Casino. To the right is Mike Hartnett, my boss. He is the Vice President of Venue Security. Mike's in charge of all of the sports and entertainment venues. That includes Comerica Park, Little Caesars Arena, Fox Theater, Pine Knob, Meadowbrook, and Freedom Hill. Your management team. A couple of changes from last season. Your new security director is Lori Dillon. Lori comes to us from Little Caesars Arena, where she was an event coordinator and then an event security manager with previous experience from Detroit Police. Andy is your security manager, and then you have 3 supervisors, Jason, Sandra, and Lynn. That's your security team. For those returning colleagues, Sean Furlong will still be around. He's in a different capacity. He's going to serve as a security analyst for us to help us out. And then Mindy Burtis has taken over all of the scheduling for security staff. So it'll all be done at one location. She will schedule for all venues to make it a lot easier for people to go from between venues and work. So we have 3 command centers that are located at Little Caesars Arena, Comerica Park, and the Fox Theater. They're open 24/7, able to be interoperable. We've used them in several capacities, but just so you know, we have constant communication throughout all of our venues. See Something, Say Something. Department of Homeland Security campaign aimed at getting citizens to report suspicious activity, right? If you see something suspicious, we need you to call it in. When we talk about what is suspicious, we talk about people taking suspicious photographs, asking suspicious questions. We talk about things that just don't seem right. If you see something like that, regardless of which department you're in, we need you to call it in. It takes every department, every colleague to help us get this done. All right, we have a large security department, but it takes all of our eyes and ears to get this accomplished. So who do you call? You call one of our command centers, or you see any of our security staff that are working at an entrance, and you let them know what you have. Right? Tell us what's going on and let us research it and find out what's going on. Safety Act. So Safety Act, after 9/11, Department of Homeland Security came up with an idea that if you are a sports and entertainment venue and you do the right training, you buy the right equipment, they will cover our liability in case of a terrorist attack. Right? Sounds like a great idea, right? So the good news is we have certification as a Safety Act venue. Comerica Park is one of the very few baseball stadiums that have Safety Act, so something we're very proud of. You will notice new crowd managers, you'll hear security talking about, we got to get ready for a Safety Act inspection. It's one of those things we do where we get all geared up to make sure that when they come out to take a look at how we're running our program, that we do a good job because we want to maintain our Safety Act certification. Alcohol awareness. Now, obviously our hospitality staff, our concession staff, their job is to serve alcohol, to maintain that program. But as all colleagues, we should be aware of how alcohol affects our guests and what we should do about it. If you see something suspicious, if you see somebody underage drinking, someone who appears to be impaired, let security know. We have to respond and check this out. We have to check their ID. So what's the drinking age in the state of Michigan? How old do you have to be to drink? 21, right? So if they're not 21, they can't drink. You're looking for underage drinking, you'll see them in the stands. One person is legal, the rest of them are not, and they're passing the beers around, right? 1 beer, 4 people. Why is that? If you see that, call it into security, let us go take a look. Fake IDs. Once again, you think someone has a fake ID, call us, we'll go take a look, we'll get law enforcement involved, and we'll get the situation resolved. Signs of intoxication. You see somebody slurring their words. They're falling asleep in the stands. They look like they've had too much to drink. Don't wait till it's the 7th or 8th inning to tell us about it. If it's the 3rd inning, tell us. We'll go check it out. By the same token, if someone's coming into the doors and they're showing their signs of intoxication, they can barely stand up, we have a right to refuse admission to the venue. Right? It's in our best interest to do that. We don't want somebody coming in that's already having issues. It's only going to get worse, right? We also have the right to refuse. If you notice somebody that's out of control, let security know. We can cut them off. All right? Active shooter. So an active shooter is somebody actively engaged in killing someone, usually by the use of a firearm. Right? It happens very quickly. Law enforcement is going to be required to resolve the situation. So for the returning colleagues, what 3 things do we do if there's an active shooter? Run, hide, fight, right? Run. You run as far as you can from the building until you are safe. If you can't run, you find the best hiding spot you can and you hide. And as a last resort, if you're approached by the shooter, you improvise a weapon and fight to save your life. Okay? Run, hide, fight. Are colleagues allowed to carry weapons to work? No, right? But what if you have a CPL, you have a gun permit? Can you bring your weapon? What if you are a colleague and you strongly believe in your Michigan constitutional right to open carry? Can you bring that weapon to work? Absolutely not, right? You have to run, hide, fight. Improvised explosive devices. It's basically a homemade bomb. That's why security does all the screening. That's why we do all the patrols around the exterior. That's why you can't pull up close to the building on a game day. The venue has a 100-foot perimeter, hardened perimeter to make sure that things like that don't happen, that someone doesn't get inside that 100-foot perimeter with an explosive device, right? So if you see something suspicious like that, let us know. Call security immediately, right? That's an improvised explosive device. What I need you to do first is take 5 steps back from it, right? You see something like that, take 5 steps back because the frequency of your cell phone or the frequency of your radio could set that off, right? So you want to definitely take 5 steps back. Suspicious or unattended bags, right? If something's unattended, that means maybe a guest left it, they went to the restroom, left it at their seat, they're going to come back and get it. No issue, right? Suspicious bag is something that's hidden. It's not obvious, something that looks out of place, right? If you see something that's suspicious, you're going to call security, let us know. We'll send our K-9 units over to check it out, right? For all those that when you come in and you have a backpack, you always wonder, why does security tag my bag? Why are they putting that wristband on my bag? Well, that's because if we see that bag unattended later on in the venue, if it has a bag tag on it, I'm more likely to approach that bag to check into it to see what's going on. If it doesn't have a bag tag, straight to the K9, right? That's why we do what we do. Vehicle-borne improvised explosive device is basically a homemade bomb that's inside of a vehicle, right? If you see something like that in the parking lot, you're coming to work, you definitely want to call it in because it could detonate, right? Those are very dangerous. That is also why we have the 100-foot hardened perimeter. So if you're a new colleague and you say you're coming to work, you're like, why can't I get dropped off at gate D? Why can't I pull my car up and get dropped off there? Because you're inside the 100-foot perimeter. That's mandated by Major League Baseball, and we maintain that for every game. We do this by vehicle screenings. Our security staff are trained to use our mirrors, use our vaporweight K9 dogs to make sure we do not have an improvised explosive device inside our perimeter. Okay, that makes sense? Colleague IDs. So every colleague will have an ID, right? We all have colleague IDs. Please display this ID when you're coming to work. When you come to the colleague entrance at gate D on Montcalm, you have to show your ID to get in. Once you're in the building, keep your ID visible at all times. Right? When you're walking through restricted areas, you're going to get challenged by security saying, where's your ID? What if you're a colleague from any department and you're walking in a restricted area and you see someone that does not have an ID? Can you challenge someone? Any colleague can do that, but there's two things I want you to remember. First, be professional. Don't walk up to somebody, where's your freaking badge? That's not what we're saying. We're saying, sir, ma'am, you're in a restricted area, you don't have a badge. Do you have a credential? And they go, oh, I'm sorry, it's in my pocket. They put it on, we're all set. They don't produce a credential, you don't argue with them, you don't grab them and take them to the ground. You simply call security, let us know, give a description, and we will follow up. Our badging system has color-coded, green, yellow, red. Green, all access, yellow, intermediate. So if you're IT operations, you have a reason to be there, you can be there. And if it's red, you have to have a work function to be in that area. Okay? Event staff credentials. So all of your event staff credentials have logos on the top of your IDs. So for all the new colleagues, what those logos mean, that lets us know who to let into which venue. If you have the Comerica Park logo on the top of your badge, that lets us know you can come into Comerica Park. If you have Little Caesars Arena logo, you can go into the arena. That's our way of determining who gets to come into what venue, right? Because we have a lot of colleagues work in different venues. You'll notice a lot of wristbands. We use a lot of wristbands. We use them for vendors and contractors, employees that forget their badge that day and they have to have some sort of identification. We'll give you the wristband color of the day. We also use wristbands for law enforcement officers who are coming to attend the game with their families. If law enforcement officers are coming to the game, they report to gate D, right, on Montcalm. We'll check their ID, check their credentials, and we'll issue them a wristband so that we know that they are a law enforcement officer. We also put these wristbands on any bags. We have a bag policy, 4 inches by 6 inches by 1.5 for all of our guests, right? When these bags come in, if it's larger than 4 inches by 6 inches by 1.5, it's a diaper bag or a medical bag, we put a tag on it so we know that bag has been checked. What about colleagues? Do you guys have to follow the 4 inch by 6 inch by 1.5 bag policy that guests have? Great, you do not. We know that you're coming from work, you have life, you've got school, so you can bring a larger bag. We do recommend strongly that you bring only what you need, right? Don't bring a whole 3 changes of clothing for 3 days if you don't need to bring that in. It just slows down the process at the colleague entrance. Guest code of conduct. Right? So we have a guest code of conduct for Major League Baseball. In 2017, MLB wanted to make sure that everyone understood that everyone should get respected. Colleagues should respect colleagues, guests should respect guests, players should respect umpires, all the way around, right? So the Detroit Tigers have a policy that says we're going to respect everybody. We're not going to judge anybody. We're not going to disrespect anybody based on their race, their gender, ethnicity, their religion, whatever social group or definition they want. Right? We're going to be respectful. There will be no abusive language from colleague to colleague, from guest to colleague to players to umpires. So what's the process? As colleagues, if you notice someone being disrespectful to somebody else, using language that's not appropriate, contact security, right? That's our job to respond. For those returning colleagues, this is one of those things that we've talked about for years. It sometimes is a frustration with security where a colleague, an usher, or a ticket taker or someone will have an issue with the guest and they call for security and they want the guest ejected, right? I want this guy out of here. He's been doing this for 6 innings. He's got to go. Unfortunately, that's not the way Major League Baseball policy is written. Here's the way it goes. For MLB, if a guest is having behavior that's unacceptable, security has to respond and give a warning, right? You give a warning. You're very clear with your warning. You let the guest know that this is unacceptable behavior and that if you have to come back, they may be asked to leave the venue. If security has to return, a decision may be made that the person has to be ejected, right? Ejection is a management decision. It's not something that the individual ushers or crowd managers or ticket takers can make. That must be made by management. On the security side, that runs through Mike Hartnett, Lori Dillon, and Andy Torok. Those are the people assigned to make the decision about ejections at Comerica Park. They can designate that authority to someone else if they're not available, but that's how the ejections work. It is not a decision of if you're an usher and you're in the seating area and this person is standing up or sitting down during the national anthem and you want them out. It doesn't work that way. We have to give a warning, right? When we're handling a guest, you'll notice that security will arrive. We will try to take the person to a neutral site, get them away from the seating area, get them away from all their friends, and get them away from what I call liquid courage. When they've got the beer sitting next to them and they're, very vocal about everything, take the beer away from them, get them to a quiet place, explain to them, these are the acceptable behaviors the expectations that we want from you. If you don't comply with these, you may be asked to leave the venue. The warning is given, and if necessary, as a last resort, we will eject that guest. Prior to ejection, we would hope, before it gets to that point, that we can try to de-escalate the situation. Right? De-escalation is a technique used to calm everything down. So you're dealing with a guest, and the guest is getting irate with you. The higher they get with their voice, the lower you get with yours. The higher they get with their attitude and their anger, the more calm you are. Right? If you are in a situation where you're trying to deal with a guest and you're not having any success, and that happens. I'm a de-escalation person. I try to talk everybody down from anything. Sometimes that works and the guest says, thank you so much for listening to me, and I get it resolved. Sometimes they say, get out of my face. Right? That's just the way it is. In that case, you have to turn it over to another colleague or you have to turn it over to a supervisor. If you're having 15, 20-minute arguments or long discussions with guests over a policy, you're losing. It should be a 2-minute conversation. If it's not working, get your supervisor. Get someone else to give it a try. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you just can't connect with that guest and you have to turn it over. Some de-escalation failures, conflict between what you say and what you do. So think of it like this. You're dealing with a guest and you tell them, knock it off. Now, what does that mean? Is that very descriptive? Right? And knock off what? It's not really very specific as to what you want them to do. You could say, my name is Johnny Jackson. I'm Director of Security. Been advised that you've been vaping here in your seat. Just want to make you aware this is a non-smoking venue. Right? Need you to put the vaping equipment away. You consider this to be a warning. If we have to warn you again, you may be asked to leave the venue. Very specific. Consequences are stated. I'm not sure how you could misunderstand that. Right? Prejudging others and being judgmental. Say you respond to a suite or you're working in a suite area and there are some kids in there. Don't make value judgments about kids. Don't make value judgments about people. Well, these kids look like they couldn't afford to be in that suite anyway. They probably got the wrong tickets or they're in the wrong area. Don't make that judgment. You don't know that. Just go by the facts. They're in that area, whatever behavior they're doing, you warn them about that area and then you move on. Making threats or bluff, like I mentioned earlier. Don't tell someone they're going to be kicked out or ejected if you don't know that to be a fact. And you're not going to know that unless you are Mike Hartnett, Lori Dillon, or Andy Torok. So don't make that bluff. Nothing worse than telling somebody, you're going to get kicked out of here and then have to go back up there and then issue a warning after that. Right? Minimizing or dishonoring. I don't know about you guys, but for me, this would set me off. This would trigger me. When someone tells you, I know you think you're upset about this policy, but you're really not. Don't do that with a guest. That's probably not going to work. It would not work on me. So just tell the guests what the behaviors are acceptable and unacceptable, but don't try to tell them that they're not feeling what they're feeling. That doesn't usually work. No prolonged debates or arguing. We talked about that. Don't let emotion influence your actions. Say you're having a bad day at work, having a bad day with family, bad day with kids. Don't bring that to work. I know it's hard. Don't take out your bad day on the guests. They didn't do anything to deserve that, right? I know it's tough. You come to work, you left your day job, had a rough day at work, and you get here and you're just like, I'm just not feeling it. You got to put that smile on. You got to do it. We're in the entertainment industry. We're in the sports and entertainment industry. If you can't turn that off and get into that great mood, you're probably in the wrong job, right? This is not the job for you. You got to be able to turn that off and for the next couple of hours, give it 100%. Being inflexible and lacking adaptability. So think of a situation like this. You've got guests sitting in the seating area, and they're standing up the entire game. It's been 3 innings, and they have not sat down. They're super excited. They're cheering for their team. They're very excited. You're an usher. You're trying to deal with it, right? You might try something like this. Sir, ma'am, I know you're excited. I know you told me this is your first game ever here at Comerica Park. You're super excited. But the people behind you are excited too. Some of them might be their first game, but they can't see because you're standing up the entire time. Would it be possible maybe if you would sit down for some of the time, maybe stand up when your favorite player is at bat or when your team's about to score, but the other time sit down so everyone else can enjoy the game? Now that sounds great, right? That might work. It might. It's probably 50-50, 75% chance of it working. But that's the approach we want to do. You don't want to just go, you can't stand up, and if you stand up again, I'm kicking you out. That's not going to work. That's not true. I can tell you right now, Mike Harden, Lori Dillon, and Andy are going to give a warning for that. That is not going to be an ejection offense on the first time. So just try to be flexible about what you're trying to do, because the main goal, remember, is to get the guests to comply, not for you to win the argument. Watch your verbal and nonverbal communication. Watch your body language. Watch how you're dealing with the guests. People pick up on it. You pick up on it when you see other people do it. If I'm here responding to a guest and they're complaining about something and I'm doing this, man, you're still talking, I'm listening to you, but I got things to do. I mean, that is not the approach. You want to give the guests your full attention and let them understand that you're trying to resolve their issue. A lot of times with guests, sometimes they just want to talk it out. They just want to tell you their issue. You know, the beer is warm, the hot dog's cold. You're in security, you're an usher, you don't have anything to do with that, but you want to hear them out. Well, I'm really sorry about that, but it's a beautiful day out and I'm just hoping the Tigers win. Yeah, me too. You know, I just really want to tell somebody, you know what, I will take that information to our concessions department, let them know about your complaint, and hopefully they can get that right for the rest of the game. Okay, thank you. Sometimes the people just want to be heard. They don't want to hear the excuses. They just want to be heard and know that you're going to try to do something about it. All right? What happens when all that doesn't work? Right? You try all the de-escalation things, and sometimes somebody wants to get physical. Let's start out with Ilitch Sports and Entertainment has a hands-off policy for all colleagues. We're not allowed to put our hands on anybody. We start out with a hands-off policy, right? How many colleagues in here bring handcuffs to work when you come to Comerica Park? You're not supposed to. For the new colleagues, that's a hint. No restraints, no pepper spray, no handcuffs. You're not authorized to do that. Even if you are law enforcement in your day job, you cannot bring those items to work. All right? Hands-off policy. If you do get into a physical altercation with a guest, any kind of physical contact, you must notify security immediately. Not after the game, not a week later, tell us about it. It was in the previous homestand. Tell us right away so we can investigate it. What happens if you're in a situation where force is required? Colleagues can use force to protect themselves, another colleague, or a guest. Let's go over some of the ways that works out. So make sure we're all on the same page. You are a colleague. Say you're an usher. and there is a guest yelling at you about some policy or procedure, or yelling at you about some issue they're having, they're right in your face, you should always retreat. Right? If you have a chance to back away, retreat, and call for security, call for assistance, that's what you should do. But say you're up against the concourse wall and they're right in your face. They're yelling at you. They have not touched you, but they're yelling at you. Can you use force on this person? That's not reasonable. Your force must be reasonable. It must stop when the other person's force stops, and it has to be reasonable. So you can't do that. What if they reach out and push you? Can you use enough force to stop them from pushing you? Yes, you can. You can back up. If you can't retreat and they're pushing you, use enough force to stop them from pushing you. You don't have to be a punching bag, but you can't be the offensive. So if they push you, you can't haul off and hit them. You can stop them from pushing you, but you can't do the offensive, swinging on somebody, kicking somebody. That's not reasonable. What happens if they strike you and you're unable to retreat? Can you use enough force to stop them from striking you? Absolutely. You're not a punching bag, right? What happens if you get to a scene and you're a colleague and there's another colleague or guest on the ground and another guest is kicking that person, stomping on that person? Can we use force to stop that? Yes. Right. How much force? Enough to have that person stop. Right. We're going to call security. They're going to call law enforcement. We want to stop that person. It could be a life-threatening situation. Now, once that person gets off the colleague or the guest, we have to stop. Once their aggression stops, so does our force. And once again, it has to be reasonable. If someone's pushing somebody, you can do that, knock their hands down so they can stop pushing you, but you can't grab something off of the concession stand and hit them with it. That's not reasonable, right? That is not reasonable. We all clear on that? All right. So we talked about some things last year, and I wanted to make sure that this year we kind of expanded on that. We have medics, EMS, through MedStar on site for every game. We have roving teams of medics that carry equipment, they have first aid bags, they have automated external defibrillators, AEDs, all that equipment so that they can take care of our colleagues and our guests. We have first aid rooms located throughout the building, 28 AEDs posted on walls throughout, plus the ones that the medics carry. So we're all set for that. What we need colleagues to do is you may be on site for that first 2 to 5 minutes of care until the medics arrive. That's all we need you to do, is to be there for that, to be able to understand that the most important thing to do is always call it in to dispatch or security so that we get you the help you need. We appreciate everybody getting involved and trying to help out, but if you don't get security notified so that they can get the medics in, you're not doing a good job. It's most important that we get the professional care that the guest needs, so by getting emergency medical technicians there and security, that's the number one goal. So what happens if someone is not breathing? You get to the scene and there's a guest down and they're not breathing. How do you check for that? Right? You want to get really low. You want to see if the chest is going up and down. Is the chest rising? If it's not, you want to get really close to the mouth and see if you can feel for or hear or see breathing. If they're breathing, great. You keep them comfortable until EMS arrives, and EMS will take it. The medics will take care of it. If they're not breathing, you're going to have to do what's called CPR. You're going to get them on a flat surface on their back, and you want to start CPR. And CPR is simply 15 chest compressions and 2 rescue breaths. Right? 30. For we're doing for adults, we're going to do 30 chest compressions and 2 rescue breaths. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, all the way till you get to 30, and then you're going to go back, move their head back, open up their airway, and give them 2 breaths. I can already see some people going, COVID. I don't have a breath mask. I don't have a face mask. That's okay. If you're not comfortable giving the breaths, that's okay. Simulate how long it would take you to give the 2 breaths and then go back to the chest compression. Because the most important thing is to circulate that oxygen and blood throughout the body with the chest compressions. So we can forego the breath because once again, the medics are on the way. All right? You're going to keep this up, the compressions, and you're going to keep up the breaths until the medics get there, and then you turn it over to the medics. What happens if a person is choking? You have an adult that's choking. If they're coughing and spitting up and they're making noises and they're telling you they're coughing and they're choking, encourage them to continue to cough it up, because that means they have somewhat of an open airway if they're talking to you. So encourage them to cough it up, spit up whatever the item is. What happens if they can't make any noises? The eyes are starting to roll back in their head. They're not making any noises. They're possibly choking. We have to do what's called back blows and abdominal thrust. Take your hand, and in the middle of their shoulder blades on the back, you're going to hit them 5 times. The goal is that hopefully that will push the item out and they will stop choking. Then you're going to turn around to the front, you put your arms behind them, and you're going to, right above the belly button, make a fist, and you're going to do abdominal thrust. You're going to press in 5 times. Your goal is to push this object out. Usually that works. If it's just right up in here, it'll push that item out. If it does, keep them comfortable, still have the medics check them out, because now you put that trauma into someone's body, you should have them checked out, right? If it doesn't, you keep doing it, 5 back blows, 5 abdominal thrusts, you keep that cycle up, sooner or later they're gonna pass out if you can't get the item out. And once they get to the ground, you now treat them as somebody like me who needs CPR. You do the same steps for CPR now because they're on the ground, they're not breathing, they're having respiratory issues. That's what you do with them. What happens if it's a child? So going back to CPR or choking, the only difference is you're going to give less pressure, half the pressure that you did for an adult because it's a smaller person, right? So if you're doing CPR, you're still doing the 30 chest compression, you're just not going down as far. It's about 2 inches on an adult, about 1 inch on a kid. If you're doing the abdominal thrust, you don't give as much force as you would because it's a smaller person. And in both cases, with child, make sure that if there's an adult or guardian nearby, you get consent, right? You must have consent. You cannot touch somebody's kid without their consent, right? If they say no, they say no. You still call the medics. The medics will get there. The parents may change their mind if the kid starts turning blue, and the medics will jump right in, right? So a parent or guardian. If there's no parent or guardian around, say you find them by the restroom, they're passed out or they're choking, Good Samaritan law says you are good to try and go ahead and help. That the assumption is the parent would want you to help. So you go ahead and you try and help. All right? Bleeding. What do you do if someone's bleeding? They have a major injury, they're starting to bleed. You want to use a clean dressing and put direct pressure on that wound and elevate it above the heart. Just that simple. Get the medics, wait for the medics to get there, and then turn it over to the medics. Make sure you wash your hands and clean up afterwards. But you want to put direct pressure on that wound, elevate it above the heart. So if it's the arm, you want to get it up, elevate it, direct pressure until the medics arrive. Automated external defibrillator, an AED, right? You see this all the time on the news. We had that football player this season that went down on the field and they had to shock him a couple of times. We have 28 AEDs in the ballpark. The medics have additional ones that they carry on them. Our organization was one of the first sports and entertainment agencies to put AEDs in use. Me personally, I've used it 12 times. I started out 5 for 5. Five wins right off the bat. Then I start losing a couple. So so far I've had 7 wins and I've lost 5 people. So it's tough. You know, using an AED is tough. But you have to understand that is your best option. If you get to a scene and there is someone down, not breathing, and the AED is there and you're ready to start CPR, you're going to start with the AED. CPR will keep your blood and oxygen going until the medics get there with an AED. But if there's an AED available, you go straight to the AED. That's going to save their life. So basically what an AED does, it's an electrical device that stops your heart. That's what it actually does. So you start out with a normal heart rhythm, then some people have an abnormal heart rhythm. The AED gives an electrical shock to your heart that quickly stops it, and the idea is your body will generate the heartbeat back again. It's a crazy concept, but it actually works. Right? So what you do, if you get to a scene and there's a patient that's down, first thing is, do we move anybody that's, like, say someone fell down some stairs or they're in distress on the ground, would we move them? No, you want to keep the person in the same position until the medics arrive. The only reasons you would want to move a patient is because the scene is not safe. Say there's a fire right near them. You got to get them out. You may have to drag them out of the way because they're in more danger from the fire. Or there's an active shooter. Someone is shooting right around the corner. You want to pull them behind a wall so they can be safe. Other than that, don't move anybody. Let the medics get there and address that situation. So with an AED, it's real simple. Whether you use the ones that are in our venue or use the ones on a wall at an airport or in the mall, they're all pretty much the same. You simply grab the AED, you open it up, and you press the start button. There's a big button in the middle. You press that button and just follow the prompts. They all have audio prompts that'll tell you exactly what to do. It is completely idiot-proof. You just follow the prompts. Some AEDs will have on the screen telling you what to do along with the audio, and some will just have the audio. Okay? First thing you want to do is get the person on the floor, flat surface, away from water. This is an electrical device. You don't want to have them in a pool of water, right? That's a bad idea. Inside the AED bag is going to be scissors. The scissors are for you to cut their clothing off. Everything from the waist up's got to come off, right? Because you got to put these pads on. They're very sticky. One on the upper right, one on the lower left. And it doesn't matter which way you put them. It doesn't matter. They're made to be interchangeable. And they have photos on the actual pads that tell you where they're supposed to go. So you stick the pads on there, and the machine's going to say analyzing. It takes about 10 seconds to analyze. It feels like 30 seconds, but it takes about 10 seconds. And no one can touch the body while it's analyzing, because if you touch the body, it's going to pick up your heart rhythm, right? So you let it analyze for about 10 seconds. It's going to make some recommendations. It's going to say shock recommended. Then the shock button's going to light up, and you press it. The person's body's going to jump. They may come back. If so, you just make them comfortable until the medics get there. It may tell you to shock them 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Whatever the machine tells you to do, it's making the call. It's not you. Don't worry, you can't make a mistake. Well, what if I shock them when I'm not supposed to? It won't let you do that. If the machine doesn't want you to give them a shock, the button will not light up and you will not be able to give that shock. What happens if it says no shock recommended? Look down at the screen and it'll have the heart rhythm. Like the old medical shows, you watch ER or something, it'll have a straight line. Bad, right? That's flat line. That means this person does not have a recognizable heart rate. Doesn't mean they're dead. This means that you need to do CPR until the medics get there. There's nothing this machine can do for them. They need to get to a surgeon. There's nothing you can do. All right? So that's how an AED works. It's real simple. You just follow the prompts, and then the person can hopefully get a heart rhythm that'll help them. We have 28 AEDs throughout the building. So they're located. So their question was, where are these AEDs located? So I know HR loves when I do this. I did this yesterday. We will make sure that that is available on the My EOP app, and we'll also make sure that that is sent out to all colleagues, along with the telephone numbers for the command centers. When we talk about, see something, say something, where do you call? So we'll have the phone numbers, and we'll also have the locations of where the AEDs and first aid cabinets and first aid rooms are located. All right? Last year came up, one of the things from the surveys, we want to just make sure we follow up on things. When you guys do these surveys from previous trainings, we want to make sure we're attentive to that. And it was brought up, what about heat-related illness? We never talked about that last year, and that seems to happen a lot here at the ballpark, right? So summer sport. So you have people that have heat-related illnesses. So they're sitting in the seats. They could have sunburn. Now, sunburn's a pretty easy one, right? They're blisters, they're turning red, the skin's red. Simply get them out of the heat. Call for a medic, get them out of the heat, get them up to the concourse, cool them off. Do not give anybody with heat-related illnesses anything to drink. It sounds contrary. You think, I'll give them a glass of cold water. No. Right? Don't give them anything to drink. Don't give them anything to eat. Let's get them out of the heat. Say they have heat cramps. They have muscle pains. Once again, not necessarily life-threatening. You want to get them out of the heat. Right? If they can move, have them walk up to the concourse, get the medics there so they can treat them, but you want to get them out of the sun. What if it's heat exhaustion, right? That's a little bit higher level. Now we're starting to get into some blisters. We're starting to get into someone who's very dizzy, having headaches. They got red skin. They're sitting in the seats. You want to get them out of that heat. If you've got, this is one of those things, if someone's got a small collapsible umbrella to put over them until the medics get there, you got to get the heat off of them, right? Once again, nothing to eat or drink. If they're really thirsty, sip of water, a small sip of water. Let the medics get there. They're going to take them to the first aid room, and they're going to evaluate them. What if it's the most serious, which is a heat stroke? Now they've got blisters. Their skin is red. They're dizzy. They're going in and out of consciousness. right? They probably have a temperature over 103. This person needs to be immediately taken to the hospital. You got 30 minutes to act. Once again, no food, no beverages, no ointments on them. If you have to give them something, ice chips or water, small sips of water, just to make them comfortable until they can get to the hospital, right? The most important thing, though, is to get them out of that heat. Get something over them so they can stop the heat. All right, that makes sense? Fire extinguishers. Using a fire extinguisher at Comerica Park, real simple. There's an acronym PASS. Pull, aim, squeeze, sweep, right? You want to pull the pin of the fire extinguisher. You want to aim the nozzle. You want to squeeze the handle, and you want to sweep at the base of the fire. Very, very simple. Couple of things to remember, though. Only fight a fire you think you can put out. You come into this room, and there's a fire until over this whole back wall, and it's spreading big time. Leave and notify security. Don't try to take a fire extinguisher and put that out, right? Also, if you use a fire extinguisher, you have to contact security and let us know. 2 reasons. 1, we have to show up to make sure the fire is out. We have a different level of training. Our venue security staff will show up to make sure the fire is out. And second, we have to take that fire extinguisher out of inventory, because the worst thing to be is someone puts it back on the wall and then there's a fire, and you go to grab it and you got an empty tank. Bad feeling, right? You've got a big fire going and now you got an empty tank. Shelter in place, right? Shelter in place is a term we use where we want to put everybody in a safe situation at Comerica Park until the situation is safe again. The biggest thing that comes to mind here at Comerica is severe weather, right? Our command centers monitor for severe weather. We have a severe weather plan. There's so many metrics that go into place. When there's lightning or high winds or tornadoes, there's different set points where we start thinking about evacuating and sheltering in place. For the ballpark, it's very simple. People in the lower seating area get moved up to the concourse. People in the upper concourse get moved down to the lower concourse, so we get everybody out of danger, right? That's called sheltering in place. The complete opposite of that is evacuation. That's when it's time to get up and orderly leave the venue. Right, some reasons we want to evacuate: credible bomb threat, right? We want to get out of the building. Fire, active shooter. We want to orderly leave the venue. If we have to evacuate the building, there's decisions that have to be made. There could be a partial evacuation or a full. Now, we've never had to do a full evacuation here. It could happen. I can't think of many scenarios that it would, because think of it this way. If we do a full evacuation, we're dumping 40,000 people out of the ballpark and putting them outside. And at some point, we're going to rescreen them all, get them back in, and restart the game. Baseball's probably going to cancel that game and reschedule it as a doubleheader the next day. That's usually what's going to happen. Now, a partial evacuation, that could happen, where we have to evacuate a certain part of the ballpark because there's some kind of condition or fire in some section. We got to get everybody out and then get them back in. How would you be notified if there was an evacuation? Scoreboard, PA announcement, the ribbon boards going across, by radio, by your supervisor, letting you know that there's a situation that we have to evacuate the venue. If you have to evacuate, you want to use stairwells. You don't want to use elevators, you don't want to use escalators. Escalators become a hazard. Too many people get on as they're trying to leave, and it collapses. Elevators, you don't want to be in an elevator, because what if the fire is in the elevator shaft? And just so you know, first responders will use the elevators to move all of our ADA people in wheelchairs. That's how they get moved. If there's nothing compromising the elevator shaft, that's how we will move people with special needs. We have assembly areas on the outside. So like I said before, if we had to evacuate the entire building, the entire stadium, we would put everybody out. We'd have to somehow figure out how to get security back in before we let everybody else back in, so we can set up screening and then do all the screening again and get everybody back in. That would be a huge, huge challenge. The more realistic thing is that if there's severe weather, we will shelter in place on the concourse. And if there's an evacuation, a partial evacuation, we will move people out of one section, deal with that situation, and then bring them back in. One thing to remember when we do shelter in place, we do shelter in place on the 100, 200, 300 level and the service level. We keep everybody safe. It's kind of weird, but if you've been here before, the returning colleagues, you know, you've seen it where you will see us move the guest to the concourse for shelter in place while the baseball game is still going on, right? So there's two different things happening there. Major League Baseball controls the players, the umpires, and the game. We're responsible for the fans. So if we see severe weather coming, and it's going to be here in 10 minutes, baseball can say, well, we got time. We can keep playing another inning, finish this inning. We got to move 30,000 people. We had no time to waste. We got to move them now. We can't do it in 5 minutes. So we got to move them. You can see us moving people to shelter in place while the game is still going on. So that does happen. It has happened. Two different missions. That baseball's got their thing. We have our thing. We're responsible for the guests. They're responsible for the game. Colleague and guest screening. So a lot of new colleagues will say, when you start, why do I have to go through all this screening? What is with this walk-through metal detectors and handheld wands and these canine dogs? Why do we have to do all that? So this is how it works. At the start of every season, Major League Baseball puts out the Baseball Standard Operating Procedures, BSOP, right? They give us a list of all the rules and regulations, all the protocols that we have to follow for the league. That's one of the mandates, screening of all colleagues and fans. It's mandated by the league. That's why you go through the screening. So all guests, all colleagues, every time, every day, every game, screening. We use walk-through metal detectors as our primary. If you set that off, we'll go with a hand wand, and then finally a limited body pat down. We do gender-specific screening, so males on males, females on females, right? We have x-ray machines. We have x-ray machine at the admin lobby, one at the media entrance, and one at the Tiger Club. So we can x-ray bags if we need to. We use our canine dogs to go around the venue, check our 100-foot hardened perimeter, and they also have the ability, because they're vapor wake canine dogs, they go through the crowds at the entrances. So if you ever see the canines walking through the crowd, you're like, that's pretty cool. They bring the dogs around and walk through the crowd right in front of the gate. That's pretty cool. Well, there's a reason we do that. Our vapor wake canine dogs can pick up the gunpowder residue. They sniff for that. So if you've got a gun on you, they may be able to detect that. So that's why they walk around through the crowd, just in case. It's another layer of our 100-foot hardened perimeter. All right? The bag policy. Comerica Park has a bag policy, 4 inches by 6 inches by 1.5. This year we have made it real simple for all of our venues, Comerica Park, Little Caesars Arena, Fox Theater, Pine Knot, Meadowbrook, Freedom Hill. We will all use this template. The bag must fit into this template, right? 4 inches by 6 inches by 1.5. If it fits in this template, it gets in the building. If it doesn't come in. Now, if it's too large to come in, there could be a couple of exceptions. It could be a diaper bag or a medical bag. For those that are not in security, real simple here. If they say it's a medical bag, it's a medical bag. If they say it's a diaper bag, it's a diaper bag. We are no longer going to have discussions for 5 minutes with guests about that. Because once again, going back to our overview, what is our goal? Protect all guests from weapons, guns, knives, explosives, right? If they walk up to you and you're a colleague and you're working on the exterior, or you are getting out of your car and you see guests coming towards you and they have a very large bag and you want to give them advice about the bag policy, let's make sure we're all on the same page. 4 inches by 6 inches by 1.5. That's our bag policy, right? And we encourage guests to take it back to their car, not give it to our bag drop. We have a free bag drop at the auxiliary box office near Gate B on Adams Street. We'll take your bag, we'll inspect it, we'll keep it for you free of charge at the end of the game. Our goal is not to have 250 bags in there every game. Our goal is to have people take it back to their car. That is only for people that show up, that took an Uber, some other mode of transportation, and they have no place to take the bag, right? That's what that's for. It's not for you to come every game and put your purse in there for free, all right? Permitted and prohibited items. So, we don't allow weapons in. I don't care if it's a small Swiss Army knife, 2 inches. We've had people stab people with 2-inch knives before. So we don't allow any weapons in there. We don't give it back to them. If you're a guest coming in and you see a colleague and you're an usher or a ticket taker and the guest you see them outside before screening and they say, well, I'm really having a hard time. Security's being real strict about this no knife thing. It's just a small Swiss Army knife. Can you hold it for me and I'll come back and see you and get it back for you at the end of the night? No. 1, that's not our policy. It's a weapon. 2, think about it this way. What happens if that guest comes in, you hold the knife for them, they have 6 beers. You give it back to them at the end of the game, they get into a fight in the parking lot and stab somebody. How are you going to feel about that now? Right? Right. So we don't do that. So we don't allow those items in. A couple of issues with permitted and prohibited items. We do allow baseballs, mitts, into the ballpark. We do allow small radios for guests to come in at baseball games so they can listen to the game. We do allow umbrellas. This came up a lot last year, so let's clear this up. Large umbrellas that have a pointed edge that can be used as a weapon are not allowed. Large umbrellas in general are not allowed. The only umbrellas allowed at Comerica Park are small collapsible umbrellas that don't have a pointed edge that can be used for a weapon. That makes sense? Right, just the small collapsible ones. Water, can you bring water into the ballpark? 1 bottle of sealed, unflavored water can come in. Right? What if you got food and beverage? You got food for your kids. You got kids with special dietary needs. Yes, that can come in. You've got food because you have religious needs. That can come in. Individual size food. Someone comes in with a large tray of macaroni and cheese for them and their friends to eat while they're at the game? No. Right? Small amounts of food. All right? All right, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody. I look forward to working with you guys this season. It's great to see so many new faces. This is great. Wasn't sure during COVID if we'd ever get to this point, so I'm very, very excited for the season. Thank you again. Be safe. Take care.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Illich Sports and Entertainment, specifically the Detroit Tigers. My name is Kiera Massey. I'm one of the HR business partners here, and today we are going to talk a little bit more about human resources and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So here we have some of our HR team. So we have Michelle Bartos and Kristen Hamas. Michelle is our Senior Vice President of HR, and Kristen is our Director of HR. We also have Kelsey Shuck, who is one of the HR business partners that supports baseball and hockey operations and also Lakeland operations. We have Janet Brown, who's another HR business partner supporting marketing and finance, which also includes the box office. Then you have myself. I support the operations team, which includes our event staff, which includes ushers, guest services, tarp crew, ground crew, and a couple other departments. And then we also have Nicole Nemeth, who's one of our HR generalists, and she supports parking and security. We also have Anna and Megan, who are our coordinator and assistant. You will mostly interact with them at our HR on-sites, which we'll talk about a little later. On the left here, we have our recruiting and onboarding team. You most likely interact with one or more than one of them during your recruitment and onboarding process. Then on the right here, we have Kate Cleve, who is our training manager, and she will talk to you a little bit more about diversity, equity, and inclusion in a bit here. So we use Workday for all of our HR needs for colleagues. So we have the website here. You'll need to log on there if you need to make any changes to your personal information, your address, enter your personal information, direct deposit, taxes, things of that nature. If you used Workday before, that's great. You will still need to make sure that you log into our specific Illich portal for Workday. You can do that using the QR code here. And we also have the Workday app that you can use as well. Make sure you enter the organization ID of Illich. The app is for viewing only, however, so if you need to make any changes or updates, make sure that you do use a computer to make those. We also have how-to guides that are available if you need step-by-step instructions for how to make any changes or updates. Those can be found on the Colleague Connect portal, which you should have all received information about in the link to access. You could also see your supervisor at any time, and they could help walk you through Workday to make any changes, or next to our Workday kiosk that is located in the colleague break room, you'll find more information there as well. If you ever do need support with resetting your password, you can contact Workday using the number here, 1-800-258-3978. If you do have any payroll questions, this includes any W-2 support, you can contact payroll via email at payroll@illichcompanies.com. And if you still need help after that, feel free to contact us at our main HR email address, which is isechr@oleent.com. So COVID updates. If you do unfortunately test positive for COVID, please be sure that you notify your manager and also HR, which means notify your HR business partner. If you can't remember who that is, definitely just let your supervisor know and they will make sure that we are aware. For face coverings, for most, it is voluntary but not required. However, for some, it is subject to professional sports league and or event requirements. If you do have any questions or need additional information, feel free to contact your supervisor. Appearance and uniform expectations. So you want to make sure that your badge is always visible when you are at work so that we know who you are. For grooming standards, you want to make sure that you always have a professional appearance. You come to work and you're ready to work in the appropriate uniform. If you need any guidance or have any questions on anything specific, definitely do not hesitate to contact your leader. You want to make sure you have clean, wrinkle-free shirt and pants, and that you're also in the appropriate shoes for work, which should be closed toe. If you have any questions regarding colors or different style, you will get that information from your leader, and more specific uniform information will also come from them as well. And if you need any additional HR support, we do have what's called HR On-Sites, which is a frequent present at events across all venues. We post the schedule monthly, and it'll be posted on the Colleague Connect portal and also by your time clocks. If you're unable to attend the on-site and have a specific question, you could always contact us at that main HR email address below. All right, and now I'm going to turn it over to Kate, who's going to talk to us about DE&I.
Thank you, Kara. Hi, everyone. This is Kate Cleve, Training Manager. You may have seen me at New Hire Orientation. So today we're going to talk a little bit about diversity, equity, and inclusion, specifically about microaggressions. So if you're not familiar with the term microaggressions, these are statements, actions, or incidents that could be indirect or subtle, often unintentional, that create some sort of discriminatory language against marginalized groups such as a racial or ethnic minority. So the trick with microaggressions is, again, they're often unintentional and very subtle and small phrases or slights. And they're also known as subtle acts of aggression. And here, as you can see on the slide, are some examples of what a microaggression can look like. So we're going to watch a video next that shows a really great analogy on why microaggressions matter and how they can add up over time.
For people who still don't think that microaggressions are a problem,
Oh, you're so well spoken.
just imagine, instead of being a stupid comment, a microaggression is a mosquito bite.
Ugh, it's a compliment.
Mosquito bites and their itch are one of nature's most annoying features. But if you're only bitten every once in a while,
No, where are you really from?
Cleveland?
sure, it's annoying, but it's not that big a deal. The problem is that some people get bitten by mosquitoes a lot more than other people. I mean, a lot more. Whether it's on a date,
Oh, your English is so good.
Excuse me?
going grocery shopping,
You know, everything happens for a reason.
I'm just buying apples.
commuting to work,
So when are you gonna have a baby?
watching TV,
We have to keep the Redskins name. It's part of our culture and history.
or just walking down the street with your partner.
I couldn't even tell you were gay.
Mosquitoes seem to pop up everywhere.
Do you know John? Give me shopping advice. I love Cher too.
And getting bit by mosquitoes every day,
Can I touch your hair?
multiple times a day,
So pretty. Can
Can I touch
your
it,
hair?
please? I wanna touch it. Can I please?
is for people who still don't think.
Sorry about that. So as you can see, microaggressions definitely can add up over time. So it may be something small or very subtle, but if those small things keep adding up, they create a larger problem and can definitely weigh on folks. So now that we've talked about what microaggressions are and kind of how they can manifest, next we're going to take a look at how they can be addressed.
There are several ways that you can address verbal microaggressions if they happen. Here are 5 tips on how you can respond if it is said in your presence. These tips are not intended for only those who are the receiver of microaggressions, but for anyone who is present when a microaggression is said. The first tip is to inquire. If someone says something that you think might be a microaggression, ask them to clarify what they meant. This gives an opportunity for the person to clear up any misunderstanding their statement might have caused and/or puts them on notice that what was said was not okay with you. The next tip is if somebody says something, you can always reframe what was said. In this way, you offer a different perspective on how what was said might be interpreted. Reframing works really well when people use generalities. Things like, those kids are always blank, or those people are known for blank. When you reframe, you allow someone to have a gentle reminder that using generalities usually leads to a microaggression. Sometimes you just need to call a spade, so you need to identify the microaggression or call it out directly. When you said, it was offensive, and it made me feel, and this is not okay with me. If something is said that upsets everyone while having a discussion, diffuse the situation by shutting down the conversation and having everyone take a moment to reflect, preferably in writing. Come back to the conversation only after everyone has calmed and you have revisited the norms established for civil discourse. So the last tip is for you to revisit what was said if you missed an opportunity to address a microaggression. I've had so many conversations where people were in spaces and heard things said, and they're always regretting that they didn't say anything. You know, I was in a meeting and someone said this and I felt really bad and I knew I should have said something, but I didn't say it. What I would say to that is it's never too late to go back and address a microaggression. At the end of the day, you are offering an opportunity for someone else to grow, and that has to be a good thing.
So really, this ties back to really being cognizant of the language that we're using at work. So just like you get ready for work, you put on your uniform, you have an expectation for your appearance when you come into work, you should also consider putting on your work filter during that time as well. We use different filters in life, whether we're a guest in somebody's home or if we're meeting somebody for the first time. There are appropriate filters for appropriate situations, and we certainly would encourage you to have a work filter specifically for when you are clocked in and on the job. So that includes not using any colorful language, definitely avoiding microaggressions, and like the video said, oftentimes microaggressions can just be a misunderstanding, so it's a matter of opening the door for conversation and education. So in addition to using your work filter, you may hear language that wouldn't be considered work filter while you're at work. So that could be from other guests that are visiting, maybe a concert or a game. And then also there could be performers that use colorful language even when they are performing or on stage. Definitely not the time to have permission to use that language. So maintain that work filter and that high level of professionalism whenever you are on the job. And a friendly reminder that respect for all is one of our core values as an organization. It is completely foundational for our behavior, our interactions, and the goal to how to treat everybody in the workplace. So maintain that high level of respect for your colleagues, your leaders, and that will contribute towards a more respectful and happy place to work overall. In the instance that someone makes you feel uncomfortable or you hear something that made you feel uncomfortable and you're not comfortable reaching out to your leader, please don't hesitate to reach out to not only somebody from HR, but we also have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week ethics line. If you ever want to make an anonymous complaint, this is the resource for you to do so. We don't want you feeling anything other than safe and comfortable and happy when you come to work. And that is all I have for you today. So thank you so much and hope you enjoyed the rest of the training today.
Hello, my name is Joe Slomsky. I'm the general manager for food, beverage, and merchandise at Comerica Park. Excited for the 2023 season. We have a lot of new items and new initiatives at the ballpark for 23 as it pertains to food, beverage, and retail, and I'm going to walk through some of those today. I'm going to start with concessions. We are changing some of our markets out in left field. We have the Blue Moon Bistro in section 151. That is a Fat Rooster concept, which is a Delaware North concept that is chicken sandwiches and chicken tenders and fries. This year we are adding chicken and biscuits as a new item out there. That's 2 biscuits dipped in honey butter. Some other new items we have in section 122 on our grill portable. We are doing fresh rope Polish sausage topped with sauerkraut. In the Big Cat Court, we have moved some concepts around. We now have a shawarma fry that is in our Mediterranean stand. That is a new item for 2023 as well in the Big Cat Court. As we continue to focus on getting back to the markets in left field, we have done some construction renovation this year for 2023. Stand 143 was previously a Big League grill and a hot fry stand with along with daiquiris. That has gotten a facelift for 2023, and it is now a all-encompassing grab-and-go market. It's walk-in, and we have a local concept in there this year. We've teamed up with Green Dot Stables, a local Detroit iconic brand, to offer their sliders. We have a variety of different sliders in there between beef and chicken. We have a buffalo chicken slider as well. And then we also are doing Green Dot's fries. We have shoestring fries, some truffle fries, and poutine fries. So really excited to team with Green Dot. Going to be a lot of questions about where you can find Green Dot in the building, and that is located in section 143 and 149. Other new items we have in the building are we've put a National Coney Island stand branded into the Big Cat Court as well. That'll offer the traditional, if you've been to National Coney, like I go quite a bit, you have grilled chicken honeys, loose burgers, Coney dogs, and gyros. Streamlined menu, but all the classics from National Coney, and we're excited to have them in the building as a partner as well. On the premium side, we have added some new items to the Tiger Den and the beer hall. The Tiger Den is located in the Brushfire Grill, just outside of section 133. We are featuring in there this year, again, local branded. Detroit 75 is a local Detroit brand. We've partnered with them. We're going to offer a different variety of their egg rolls on the menu to create some local flavor. We've also added some tequila chicken sandwiches, and then we have a new dessert option, which is grilled banana bread a la mode. Some other things we've included in there are the barbecue chicken sandwich. We have the game day conies from National, and then we also have root beer floats. Moving on, the Tiger Club, which is located just above down the right field line. The Motor City Tiger Club this year will feature a live action station, a live action pasta station as well. We've added banana splits to our dessert area. And just a reminder that the Tiger Club is open to all fans. Reservations are not required, but are we would like to see people make a reservation, but it's not required. So it's first come first serve on event days. Of course, reservations are preferred, but if we have space, we will seat guests. Just below the Tiger Club in right field on the main concourse, we have the corner tap room. We've expanded the menu in this year. Last year it was more of a deli and sandwiches. This year we've brought back fresh burgers, fresh fries, and we have quite a few local craft draft beers on hand from that are in and around, are all from within the city of Detroit or within the state of Michigan. The Blue Moon Lounge on the upper concourse has gotten a facelift, so that there's some a little bit different design. It's been upgraded to enhance the Blue Moon and the Molson Coors brand. This is a good note here is that it's the only space on the upper concourse for fans sitting in the bowl up there to get a mixed drink or a liquor drink. And it is open to the public. Blue Moon Lounge is open to all guests. One of our staple items is the Home Run Happy Hour that takes place in the Pitcher's Pub up on the Comerica Landing. We have the Home Run Happy Hour consists of food and beverage specials. It starts when gates open and goes for 60 minutes, hence the name Home Run Happy Hour. It includes reduced price food and beverage, and it's again open to all guests, and they can find this in right field if they go up to the Comerica Landing. A little bit more on our premium side, we have 91 suites. Many of them are available to rent on game days. The suite entrance is located off the main concourse, off the admin lobby, and we have exciting new accompaniments to our menu on the suites as well. I'm not going to list everything out, but we revamped our suite menu, and it also includes some local flavors. Champions Club, which is located on the suite level, the 100 suite level. That is a members only club. You need a ticket to get in. It includes a full buffet throughout the game and includes draft beer and house wine as well. It's an all-inclusive space. Moving over to the retail and merchandise side, our flagship store is the D Shop. It's located, the entrance is located within the Big Cat Court. It's open to the public on game days and non-event days as well. It's open from 11 to 4 on weekdays year round. That's Monday through Friday. And if days that we have a night game, we'll open in the afternoon. We'll close at 4 to reset, and then it'll open up to guests only, ticketed guests only, once the gates open. We have that's our largest store that we have in the building. That's where you're going to find your largest selection of headwear, youth apparel, fan gear, jerseys, and we will also be featuring quite a bit of Miguel Cabrera final season merchandise in that location as well. Another area of note for retail is our Pro Shop. That is our 2-level store, which is located in section 108, adjacent to the Rocket Mortgage Gate. That is only open just on Tiger events. It's not open on non-event days. And this also has a large selection more of lifestyle brands, outdoor lifestyle brands, more of outdoor gear, golf accessories, and again, 2 floors, and we will also feature Miguel Cabrera final season merchandise in that location. Other retail locations on a smaller level, we have a small store located in section 126 on the main concourse. That is a small market style grab and go retail location. Is open to all guests. And then we have 2 locations on the suite level, one on the lower and one on the upper, to create a convenient environment for our premium guests to shop in. It's somewhat of a personalized store, as only the guests on the suite level have access to it. And there you'll find some high-end apparel. We will still carry the Miguel Cabrera final season items in that location as well, but we'll also carry some of our elevated lifestyle brands and premium brands. On the upper concourse, we have retail stores in section 325 and 342. The store in 325 is open every game to take care of fans on our upper concourse. The stand at 342 is open depending on attendance levels. So if on the upper concourse, the best bet is to always push guests or direct them to the retail store in section 325. In addition to our stores, we have some smaller outlets that are located throughout the concourse. We have an exclusive New Era cart that's located in section 115 that offers a large variety of caps and apparel from New Era. That is a partner of the Detroit Tigers, and they play a large part in our retail offering. We have some D-Shop Express locations, which are just considered smaller portables. We have one at 132, and we also have one at section 141. That is just a smaller offering of the items included in our D-Shop and our Pro Shop. So more of impulse buys, small novelties for children, and headwear. A new location this year is in section 146 out in left field. We have a New Era headwear cart that will be located out next to the Chevy Atwater bar, and it will primarily carry headwear, sunglasses, things like that for guests that are out in the sun. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you at the park.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Warner. I'm a security event coordinator with Illich Sports and Entertainment, and today we're going to talk about the radio, how to use it, and radio etiquette. This radio here is the radio that we use across all the different venues. It's a Motorola radio. First thing I want to point out is this button right here. This is the volume button, but this is the button to turn on the radio. So what you need to do is just turn it. You're going to give it a few moments, and you'll hear a noise, which should happen any minute. Just like that. At that point, your radio is going to turn on. There's going to be a screen here in the middle. It's going to show you what channel you're on. For the purposes of this video, I know we are at Comerica Park doing this training today, so it's already on Comerica Park. However, if you do need to change the venue that you're at, what you're going to do is hit this P1 button right here, and you'll have a list of different venues to choose from. You go up and down with the buttons here in the middle. But like I said, we're going to stay on Copa. So you would hit the OK button, which is right here. From there, you'll need to hit the back button. There's a back arrow, which would be right here. You're going to click that, and that'll bring you back to the screen. So the second switch we're going to talk about is the one right here in the middle. The switch here is going to be to change the channel. So you go left or right, and you'll see in the front here that the channels themselves actually change. Again, for the purpose of the video, we're just going to keep it on the Copa Open 1. That's no one's on the channel right now. That's why we're using it. The next one I'm going to show you is this button right here on the side. This is your transmission button. To transmit out, all you need to do is hold it down, and you're going to hear a chirp right there. That means you're transmitting. Keep your finger on the button. Keep the radio a few inches away from your face, and you're going to talk into the radio. Once you're done with the transmission, simply let go of the button and wait to hear for someone to respond. Normally, it'd be your dispatch. When you're using the radio, the big things to note, make sure no other traffic is on the air. And what we mean by that, we mean that no one else is using the radio at that time. If someone else is transmitting, wait for them to be done and then transmit what you need to say. When you're transmitting, make sure you identify yourself, give the location along with the message you need to send. So for example, security coordinator Joe Warner to dispatch, will you please send me a supervisor to my location? I am at the Meyer door at LCA. Something along those lines. So make sure you're clear and to the point. Try not to drag out your transmission. During normal operations, messages will go through the command center and they'll relay it to the appropriate department. During main events, you always go through dispatch and they'll also relay it to the appropriate department. So a few other things about radio etiquette. We don't want you to place the radio down. We want you to keep it either on your belt or somewhere on your shirt. If you have a shoulder mic, an earpiece, make sure you always have the radio somewhere where you can hear it. Do not put the radio down and walk away from it. You are responsible for these radios. When you come to work, you will check them out. We write the radio numbers down, and you are responsible for turning in that radio at the end of the day. If you hear dispatch broadcasting that there's an open mic, what we mean by that is there's someone pressing down the transmit button and they don't realize it. When that happens, no other radio traffic can go out. So if you hear open mic, take time to look at your radio and make sure that it's not your actual radio that's transmitting. So for priority calls and terminology, please do not use the terms drunk, impaired, intoxicated, or anything similar to describe a guest over the radio. Use the term disorderly. We want you to use the term disorderly over the other ones because what happens is when we have 300 radios out and people are listening, we don't want the guests to hear that we're dealing with a drunk, an impaired, or intoxicated individual. By simply saying disorderly, that will get the appropriate people to your location. Medical calls always have priority, and you should hold any radio traffic if possible until the medical team is either there or the response is acknowledged. I apologize. Response is acknowledged. Operations and the command center dispatch need the ability to communicate with entrances prior to allowing guests into the stadium. So before the game, please limit that radio traffic because that is a priority. So once again, for accountability with these radios, when you sign them out, they become part of your uniform and part of your responsibility. If you leave early or you leave at the end of the night, make sure your radio is turned in by yourself. Do not let another crowd manager or anyone else turn in that radio, because at the end of the night, if it's not turned in, ultimately it is your responsibility. No radios are to be left at the check-in counter. If the check-in is closed, make sure you get in touch with a supervisor or someone from the venue to have that radio turned in to the appropriate location. The final thing we're going to talk about is to notify dispatch that you have a description to broadcast, so a lost guest or something in relation to that. So once you call it in, dispatch is going to ask for the description. What you want to put is the race, the gender, the approximate age, the height, the build, the hair color / style, clothing, jacket, shirt, pants, shoes, hat, and the location last seen or where they were heading. That's the only information you need to give. If a manager or supervisor comes over the radio and asks you for additional information, try to meet up with them, or if it's something pertinent, please give it to them at that time. That's all we have for radio etiquette and description. And Oh, one more thing with the description. No names at all for the description. So just make sure you give the information, and that's it. All right, that's all I have for radio etiquette. Thank you for your time, and have a good day.
Hi, my name is Grant Anderson. I'm the Senior Director of Ticket Operations. Today we will go over a very quick overview of digital tickets, loaded value, and our season ticket holder program called the 1901 Society. The first thing we'll go through is what you'll encounter when you see a fan, and they will come to you possibly with a screen where they haven't done any actionable item, and they'll have to log in. And so if you look to the right on the screen, you'll see it says, log in, and they can use an existing login, or they may have to register from scratch. So in most cases, you're going to tell fans that they need to log in and register with the same email address that they purchased their tickets online with. One distinction is you really need to make sure that to see if the fans purchased their tickets on Tigers.com, or if they purchased it on a secondary website like StubHub, Vivid Tickets, Game Time, SeatGeek, something like that. So in this case, this explanation is really just for those fans that bought it on Tigers.com. So they would log in, they'd select their favorite team, and if they've gotten through the login process, often it means they also have to confirm their email when they log in. They've gotten through all that. You can tell them to select the ticket icon on the bottom here. It's already been selected, and this is the screen that'll pop up. This will show any games that they have. So if they don't see any tickets or if they don't see any games there, one thing that we always recommend is that they use the pull down screen. So it's literally touching the top of the screen and pulling down. And what that'll do is that will refresh their screen. Once they do that, this is the screen showing which tickets they have. And obviously they can just press open. And this will be a barcode. So if they see this, they are ready to scan. And just so you know, at Comerica Park in 2023, we do not allow screenshots anymore. Those will not scan in. So we allow tickets in the ballpark app that will look like this. And this is what we call a 3D barcode, meaning it changes periodically. Rotating barcode. It changes periodically, so screenshots will not work. There's also another way to access their tickets, and that's online. It's called MPV, but they can go to their account online and pull it up in a web browser, and that does not have a rotating barcode. It has a static barcode, but our scanners are smart enough to know that where it's coming from, and it'll allow that to scan. The next question you might have is how to forward tickets. So there's a lot to read here. I won't go through it all, but essentially there's an icon on the bottom where you can select forward tickets. You see the blue check boxes next to the tickets. So in this case, I'm just forwarding 2 tickets. So you can forward tickets a couple different ways. You can select from the contacts in your phone. You can type in an email address, or you can share a link to a phone number. The best ways are sending via email through the contacts in your phone or typing in an email address. Keep in mind that if someone writes the wrong email address, there's no kickback that comes. If they made a mistake, it'll just go to that email address that they made a mistake on. So if the person doesn't receive the email, in nearly all cases, they need to double check to make sure that the email was correct from the get-go. So one of the nice things about digital tickets is if you would like to cancel that ticket, you can. Whoever purchased the tickets is always in control of those tickets, and so at any time they can cancel the ticket and it'll automatically return the ticket, and it keeps actually the same barcode information that they originally had in the app. And so once that ticket is canceled, they might have to refresh their screen, but that ticket will immediately appear back in their app, and it's now a live scannable ticket. The only time this doesn't work is if they forwarded a ticket and that person's already scanned into the ballpark. At that point, you can't cancel it anymore. Another nice function about digital tickets is the ability to add that ticket to Apple or Google Wallet. And so when you do this, and you can look at the step-by-step here, there's an icon within the Ballpark app on the very bottom there. When you add it to Apple Wallet or Google Wallet, you'll see on the screen on the right, you notice that there's no barcode. It's because it's now communicating wirelessly. So there's a wireless NFC chip in both of the phones, and that's going to communicate with the handheld scanner and also the pedestal scanners. So all they need to do is tap it, touch the phone to either one of those devices, and it'll scan and it'll wirelessly transmit that barcode information. Now, if you do need a barcode for some reason, you can click on the ticket on the icon at the top right, basically flip around the ticket, and it'll show a barcode. But the whole purpose of Apple Wallet is not needing to show that barcode and scan it in the traditional way. So if you have a barcode, obviously you're at the point where you can scan in, or as we mentioned, you can tap your phone if you have added it to Google or Apple Wallet. Pretty straightforward. There is some issues with people with screen brightness, but it's not what you would probably think. So the MLB Ballpark app automatically forces the phone to max brightness when it gets turned on. So the Ballpark app is pretty smart in that regard. Years ago, we had issues with screen brightness even within the Ballpark app, but that's really been fixed. So as soon as that Ballpark app comes up, your screen brightness goes to max. So that's not an issue. The only time we generally see issues is if people have those clear lens covers on their phones, to protect the phones. Those tend to make the phone a little duller and harder for our scanners to read. So keep that in mind. Loaded value. So loaded value is or as we say, the company we use is called Givex. So we often use the term Givex loaded value. So essentially that is money that's on people's either their account or on their actual ticket. So for most of our sake, it doesn't make much of a difference. A lot of season ticket holders have money on their account, which any of their tickets could access. And most other customers that have money on their tickets, it's associated with a specific ticket for a specific game. So for an example, a group buyer may have $10 of loaded value on their specific seat, and the other person in the group would have $10 on their specific seat. And so that money can only be used for a specific game that corresponds to the game date. So if they don't use the money is no longer available on their ticket. So how do you know if a ticket has money on it? Well, often on the face of their ticket, there's usually a code on there that will say it has 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 50, or whatever. But how do we know if that money's already been used? Well, you can go to any of the belly up point of sale places. So almost all the places that are selling selling food at Comerica Park, and you can basically you can have them scan it and verify how much value is on the ticket. So where can loaded value be used? It can be used pretty much everywhere except fine dining and from those hawkers that sell beer and soft drinks and water that walk up and down the aisles. But it can be used at Big League Grills, the Little Caesars, any of the places on the concourse can accept loaded value. And part of the reason it can't be used in fine dining, if people do ask, is because often you're dealing with a server, waiter, and you're not at the point of sale at your table. And so they have Sports Service has a policy where they don't want their servers taking people's phones back to the bar or behind the counter and scanning it there. It's just not a good, it's not a best practice. So one of the nice things, and it can also be used at the retail shops as well. So a lot of customers don't realize they can use their loaded value at retail. Most people are going to use it for food and beverages. And the good thing is it can be used for alcohol as well. Our season ticket holder program that we have is called the 1901 Society. It's the year the Tigers were formed. One of the nice programs that all season ticket holders get is a 10% discount through the GiveX Loaded Value program. It's the same system that we use for Loaded Value. We use that system for the season ticket holder discount. So the best way to explain this to season ticket holders, if they have any questions, is if they're going up to purchase, say they're going to purchase a hot dog at a stand, the first thing that they should do is identify themselves as a season ticket holder, present their ticket, and so their ticket, the person at the stand will scan their ticket to verify that they're a season ticket holder, and it'll give them the 10% discount. Then the next step is they can now they need to decide on how they want to pay for it. They can use cash or credit card. I'm sorry, no cash in Comerica Park. I take that back. They can use credit cards to pay for their transaction, or if they have Loaded Value, they can use that method of payment to pay for their tickets. So it's a two-step process. First, identify whether they get the discount or not, and then the point of sale system will discount the hot dog in this case, and then the next step is to purchase the item. So the difference between Loaded Value and the 10% discount is it can be used at all the same places Loaded Value can. The only difference is the 10% discount is not available for any type of alcohol, and that's because of the state of Michigan and our liquor laws. So same thing as Loaded Value. The 10% discount's available at the Big League Grill, the food court, all the upper deck stands, and the portables. And again, it's not available at the fine dining locations, the self-checkout areas, and those hawkers selling drinks walking up and down the aisles. We actually already talked about how it's applied. They'll scan their ticket barcode at the point of sale, and if they're the items are subject to the 10% discount, it'll apply that discount. So a way to identify season ticket holders is they have within the Ballpark app, they have membership cards, and these are particularly useful if people need access to the suite level. It offers another way to validate whether they get the 10% discount. Now the 10% discount is tied to the barcode on the ticket, but at least you know that they'll be able to identify themselves as a season ticket holder if they're having any issues. It also gives them, excuse me, for some areas like our suite holders, they have access to suite level, and then the Champions Club as well, they have access to suite level. So it's a nice way to identify season ticket holders. Another good use of this digital card is for our On Deck Circle and Tiger Den season ticket holders. They have access to the Tiger Den and the Tiger Club. And so this is a great way for them to show this card to the usher who is in charge of those areas to allow them access. And this is what the card looks like. It'll clearly state that it has On Deck Circle, Tiger Den access. And then finally, this is the card that most season ticket holders will have to show their benefits. And that's kind of it. Unfortunately, in this forum, we don't have the opportunity to ask any questions, but if you ultimately do have questions, feel free to ask your supervisor or reach out to me directly. Again, my name is Grant Anderson. I'm the Senior Director of Ticket Operations, which is the box office. So if you see me around, please feel free to ask me questions or reach out to me directly. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Shabi, Vice President of Sales and Service here with the Detroit Tigers. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today, as both you and I are going to be fan-facing, game in and game out, making sure that fans at Comerica Park have a phenomenal experience. My role is overseeing ticket sales and service here with the organization. Put very simply, it's my job to make sure that our team is engaging our marketplace and bringing as many people as possible to Comerica Park, making sure they have an excellent experience and want to come back again and again and again. I'd like to introduce you to a couple folks on our team that you're going to be seeing around the ballpark on a regular basis. So hopefully this helps put a face to a name. As I mentioned, my name is Joe Shabi, VP of Sales and Service here at the Tigers. Heading into my 17th season in the sports industry, I started my career at the Houston Astros as an intern and spent 5 years in Houston, followed up by 6 years with the Detroit Pistons, spent 2 seasons down in Miami with the Marlins, and now entering my 4th season here at the Detroit Tigers. Brian Jemison joined us in 2021 from the Miami Marlins. Brian oversees all of our retention efforts as our Senior Director of Membership Development. And Brian does a tremendous job working with our season ticket members day in and day out to make sure they have a great experience. and all of their benefits and all of the amenities that come with being a season ticket member are fulfilled on an everyday basis. Alan Jabero is our Senior Director of Ticket Sales, most recently joining us from the LA Dodgers. Alan has worked with the Detroit Pistons prior to his time with the Dodgers and worked in both, obviously, the NBA and Major League Baseball. And Alan oversees all of our new business acquisitions. So Alan's in charge of really our new season ticket member acquisition, selling new groups into the ballpark, and making sure that we're growing our fan base year in and year out. Liz Karolak oversees all of our activation efforts and all of our programming of our season ticket membership. If you see cool things like an away game watch party, or you see a Detroit Tigers draft party that we held at Motor City Casino or in Atwater Brewery, Liz Karolak is the mind behind all that. And you'll see Liz around the ballpark hosting some private autograph signings, meet and greets, photo opportunities for our season ticket members on a regular basis. Mark Lopez is our manager of ticket sales. Mark touches a little bit of everything in our business, but has a heavy footprint in our group sales efforts. So every game night, we've got upwards of 5,000 to 7,000 group tickets in our ballpark. You can imagine that's a lot of birthday parties, weddings, anniversaries, bachelorette parties, fraternity and sorority gatherings. Mark's the master party planner that's coordinating all those things, along with our group sales team, in making that happen on an every game basis. What we'll touch on a little bit today are just 5 main areas of our business. We're going to talk about the 1901 Society, which is our season ticket membership platform. We're going to talk about some of our smaller ticket packages, our group sales efforts and our theme nights, our suites, and also single game ticketing. Our 1901 Society was created based on the long tradition of Tigers fandom in this market. We know Tigers baseball runs deep for generations in Detroit, and we want to celebrate that. So coming out of the 2019 season, we rebranded and we restructured, reimagined our season ticket membership. Gone are the days when you receive cardboard tickets in the mail, show up to opening day, and after the last game of the season, you don't hear from the Detroit Tigers anymore. We wanted to create a membership that really supported our fans. We understand that our season ticket members aren't just Tigers fans for 6 months out of the season. So when we created the 1901 Society, which is a true year-round membership, we created off-season events where fans will have access to current players and alumni and special private intimate meet and greets for season ticket holders only. We created a draft party year in and year out, so our members can go to a private event, learn about the players we just drafted, have a chance to come together, network, and talk baseball. And we even created some things outside of baseball in and of itself. We do some things like a private event at the zoo for our season ticket members so they can get together outside of the ballpark every once in a while. What constitutes being a 1901 Society member is having one of 3 ticket packages. Having a full season membership. All of our full season ticket holders in the ballpark are 1901 Society members. A half season membership, which is 41 games. All of our half season members in the ballpark are 1901 Society members. And a 28 game plan. All of our 28 game plan, again, 1901 Society members. 28 game plans roughly every 3rd game throughout the season, plus opening day. All of our 1901 Society members receive a wealth of benefits that come along with their membership. Possibly the biggest benefit is guaranteed access to opening day tickets. We all know opening day is the biggest holiday in Detroit. And one of the biggest reasons that our members want to become a full season member, a half season member, is to guarantee their seats and guarantee a seat location they love for opening day. We understand that our baseball schedule doesn't align with everybody's social calendar. So again, our 1901 Society members have a great benefit where they can exchange out tickets if they're unable to make games. We know that, families take vacations in the summer, things of that nature. They may be missing 4, 5, 6 games. Through being a season ticket member, they're actually able to exchange those games out ahead of time for games that do fit better with their schedule, so they're able to get the most bang for their buck as a season ticket member. We mentioned that our membership now is 365 days, so we wanted to reimagine the way our memberships were paid and our folks were able to pay for their membership. So similar to your Netflix, gym membership, things of that nature, our memberships now are paid on a monthly basis to make payments easier for our season ticket members. We have exclusive member events. I touched on a few of those, whether they're private meet and greets or autograph sessions with current players and alumni. We try to do a 1901 Society member activation every single year, and you're going to see some of those at the ballpark over the course of the season. About half of them are at the ballpark and half of them are off-site at one of our partners' venues. there are many other benefits that we could touch on, including priority access to postseason tickets. And we know we're going to make a strong push to get there this season. A discount on concessions and merchandise. And that's one thing that we'll see on every single game day. Our members have access through scanning the barcode on their ticket to receive a discount on concessions and a 10% discount on ballpark concessions and merchandise. They also receive access to select 313 Presents events. So any concerts that we have here in the District of Detroit or up at the amphitheaters, they have access to some of those pre-sales as a benefit for being a 1901 Society member. Another unique benefit that our members have is early access into the ballpark. We know our season ticket members are our biggest fans, so we allow them early access through our Gallagher entry, a half hour earlier prior to the general public coming in, so they can watch batting practice and catch some fly ball or home run balls and have a great time. We understand that's part of being a fan, and we wanted to create that experience for our season ticket members. You'll see that the folks that are in the ballpark earlier are part of that membership group. One thing that can identify a member outside of the ticket themselves is a member card that lives in the ballpark app. You'll see 4 different potential cards, one representing our suite holders. That'll be shown in the upper left there. The Gallagher suite level member is what it'll read. One for our Champions Club holders, one that's a general 1901 Society member card that grants access to the Tiger Den, and one, the orange card, is a 1901 Society member card that does not grant access to the Tiger Den. So 4 different distinctions that all have a little bit different access levels to them. Again, one being the suite level, one being the Champions Club, one being to the Tiger Den, and then one being a general member card that'll get the early entry access for our season ticket members. Outside of memberships, we do offer several smaller ticket packages throughout the season, anything from a 12-game plan to a 4-game plan, a 3-game plan that you'll see in market rotating throughout the year. These are 3 of them listed above that we most recently launched. The Motor City Flex plan, which obviously the word flex is so important. Folks are able to pick their own 4 games that they want to attend to and receive a discount for buying those 4 games. We have a plan centered around Miguel Cabrera's final season here at the ballpark. It included opening day and a couple key milestone days for Miggy throughout the season, including the last game of the season. And then we have a Miguel Cabrera World Baseball Classic bundle with a Miguel Cabrera Team Venezuela bobblehead that just recently launched here. And you'll be seeing it promoted in market. Our staff, we have about 30 sellers on our sales floor here at Comerica Park. And a majority of them are here on every single game. Where you'll see them present every single game is at our sales kiosk at section 127. And then on select games, when we have a group redemption, so think about an Irish Heritage Night where we may do a special Tigers themed hat, or a Polish Heritage Night where there may be a special Tigers themed jersey, we'll have an area up in section 332 where folks can redeem those items who bought a special ticket package. Again, our season ticket member headquarters, though, at section 127. If we have members who have questions, if you have folks who are interested in buying a season ticket membership, that's the place that they'll be directed. And we'll always have staff there through the end of the 5th inning to go answer and address those questions and concerns. We have several different hospitality areas at the ballpark. As we touched on from a group sales perspective, we are the hub for a lot of large celebrations, whether it's company outings, whether it's a family gathering. We have a lot of faith organizations that come out to the ballpark as a place to celebrate and build some camaraderie among their group. We do, a lot of school outings. We have some educational programs that we'll touch on here in a minute, but we have a lot of hospitality areas, including our busy deck, in our picnic areas up on the upper level, which you're going to see folks having ticket packages for and accessing throughout the year. Theme packages are a big part of our business as well, and some of them are more popular. Obviously, are our Scout Days, where our scouts actually have a parade on the field for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. You can see the dates there for those events. Bark in the Park is absolutely one of our more popular days, where folks are able to bring their dog to the ballpark through a special ticket package. That's one that sells out every year, and folks just love, so we bring back year in and year out. We have one of the largest faith-based programs in all of Major League Baseball, called our Home Plate program, on June 10th this year. We're very excited to continue to bring that program back. It's been going for several decades now, led by our team chaplain, Jeff Totten. Class Outside, it's an educational program that we put together to bring thousands of school-age kids to the ballpark on 3 separate occasions to learn about different things like Career Day, STEM Day, and Weather Day. And we provide some educational programming prior to the game to make sure they have not just a great baseball experience, but they're able to take away some really cool and valuable knowledge from the day itself. And Pride Night is another night that has really resonated in our community, and we're excited to bring back here this season. Part of our fan experience is different abilities for our fans to engage on the field or have cool experiences that are actually a part of the game day programming themselves. A couple of those different experiences are going down to the field for the national anthem. Actually performing the national anthem themselves is an experience that a lot of our musically inclined groups, whether it's a church choir, school band, school choir, have the opportunity to purchase a ticket package and actually perform the national anthem. And then a lot of our key stakeholders, whether it be a season ticket member or a suite holder or a corporate partner, actually have the ability to throw out the first pitch on rare occasions throughout the season. I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on our suites. We have several suites throughout the ballpark on 2 different levels, all tied to our Gallagher suite level. And we also have our Jim Beam Champions Club, which is our most luxury seating area in the ballpark that comes with food and drink. No question, our best game day experience for folks who want that all-inclusive food, beverage, luxury seating option when they come out to the ballpark. The Jim Beam Champions Club is a small, intimate setting, so only 120 seats in the space, but it really has that communal feel where folks come in, they get to know the staff there. It becomes truly that home away from home when they're at the ballpark. Lastly, I wanted to share some key points of feedback from our season ticket members before we depart. Comerica Park's not just a ballpark. It's not just a place we see a team play baseball. Comerica Park unites the city of Detroit. I joked when I took this role that everybody in the city has an Old English D t-shirt, hat, or tattoo. And, we see the support for this team year in and year out. And it's not just because of baseball. Comerica Park's a hub that really brings our city together. And it's been no more evident than over the last couple of years. Folks view our ballpark as a home away from home, especially our season ticket members. When they purchase a season ticket membership, they love the fact that they've got a seat. They almost envision it as an extension of their backyard. And it's so important that my team in all of our roles within the organization protect that and make sure they know they can come to the ballpark and have a replicatable experience. Part of that is making sure that, their seats are checked when they come down to their section. When they're seated in their seat, they're treated like a VIP, and that's going to continue to get people to want to come to the ballpark and be a part of that experience. An enjoyable game day experience is something that we consistently hear from our fans. We rank very high in the league among satisfaction surveys, and it's because of folks like yourself, folks that our season ticket members are running into the concourse on a daily basis and see smiles and are greeted with warm welcomes, and again have that feeling like it's a home away from home. And us creating that atmosphere that is truly first class at Comerica Park. We consistently hear that we have a friendly and helpful game day staff, and that makes me smile. And I see you guys when I'm walking around the concourse and see the waves and the smiles and see folks helping our fans. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing a young child come into a game, first Tigers game, getting that first game certificate, and the smile on their face and their parents' face, and knowing that if we do everything the right way, we make sure that they have a great experience from the time they walk in the door to the time they leave. This may be their first game, but it's certainly not going to be their last. And this experience is going to transcend generations of that child taking their kids to games, in the future. Especially, the last couple of years, we've really wanted to create a guest-centric approach. And that's, modernizing a lot of the ways we're doing things in the ballpark, making sure we're able to get folks in the ballpark quicker, making sure we're able to transact at the concession stands quicker. And a couple of things that you'll continue to see throughout the season is we've made a shift to mobile ticketing. So all of our fans who come in the gate, with the exception of folks who bought tickets at the box office themselves, should have a mobile ticket on their phone. That mobile ticket does a couple things for us. It's actually a lot more secure way to make sure the right people are getting in the ballpark. It really limits fraud completely and make sure that we have ticket integrity there. It also allows people to not have to worry about, did I lose my ticket? Or if they can't make a game suddenly, it's very easy to forward or send that mobile ticket to someone else. You can do it in under a minute if you're running late at work, or maybe you had to take 2 separate cars to come to the game and you need to send somebody a ticket. Mobile ticketing has been a great revelation in our business to help that seamless transfer of tickets and exchange of tickets, and also protect from fraud. Our ballpark shifted to a cashless ballpark, which means, obviously folks for years were used to passing around cash and buying from vendors in the ballpark using cash. Again, we're a much more secure ballpark now, and also the speed of transactions is much quicker. We also have loaded value, which is a great piece of our group business that we haven't had in years past, where we can load value onto a ticket. So if a group wants to come out from a organization, they want to make sure everyone has something to eat. Instead of pre-buying food and having folks eat a set menu, we're able to actually put dollars on the barcode on the ticket, and folks are able to scan that ticket to use the value that's on that ticket and eat whatever they want throughout the ballpark. And our Tiger Den access. So we had talked a little bit about the member cards that grant access to the Tiger Den. The Tiger Den is a place that we consistently get rave reviews on, and is truly one of those parts of the ballpark that the folks who have access to absolutely love. So today we touched a little bit on different amenities and what we do here on the ticket sales and service side. I look forward to seeing everybody at the ballpark and looking forward to having some conversations with y'all. If you see me, don't hesitate to stop me, and happy to chat. Again, my name is Joe Shavi, and thank you so much for being a part of our organization. Looking forward to a great 2023 season with you. Thank you. Bye.
Hey everyone, this is Joe Warner, Security Event Coordinator, Illich Sports and Entertainment, and today we're going to talk about situational awareness. The next several photos that I'm going to show you, please just look at the photos, think about it, but don't give an answer. First photo is going to be a bunch of bags left inside a vehicle. The next photo is going to be looking inside a vehicle. Next photo is going to be a person walking down a street that's not properly lighted. The next photo is going to be walking down an alley with a strange individual standing there. Next photo is going to be 2 individuals fighting, one with a weapon. The next photo is going to be 2 people fighting with their fists. The next photo is going to be an individual hitchhiking down a road. The next photo is going to be a vehicle fire. And the last photo is going to be a group of people in the middle of a road, possibly a fight. Situational awareness, at its core, situational awareness is about personal safety and always keeping yourself safe through preparation. Situational awareness can be understood as a collection of skills needed to set limits in situations that make us uncomfortable or possibly dangerous. An awareness of the environment and basic understanding of how to avoid potential dangerous situations, and the aspects of how we feel about ourselves and how to trust our instincts. Utilizing skills to set limits on a situation can include parking in a well-lit area or having the keys out and ready when walking to a vehicle. By doing this, the situation has been controlled via increased visibility and access to the vehicle. Parking in a dark or fumbling for keys next to a vehicle could invite external threats. Likewise, it is important to listen to the cues or instincts of your body. Phrases like, I feel it in my bones, I have a gut feeling, or our apple here, a kind of a sixth sense to let us know we may be in a dangerous situation. Being aware of your personal space. 5 feet of space is the standard for a personal space bubble, close enough to interact with those around you, but not close enough as to cause discomfort or apprehension. Extending awareness to a 25-foot radius will help identify other people in the area, open places, or entrances and exits. Practice looking around your surroundings anytime you're in public, and rotate your head from side to side along with your eyes when exploring an area to ensure you're properly surveyed. Warning signs. Someone's hands and or face are a good indicator of their intent. This includes instances of hands being hidden from view, the downward cast or shifting of eyes, or inappropriate hand gestures or staring. It is during these times that listening to your body warning signs, your gut feeling, can prove beneficial. You need to have a plan. Whatever you do, always know you're going to be where you're going and how to get there. If a crisis occurs, do your best to think of all available options before deciding. If in a vehicle accident, you could have the other car follow you to a public place or to the nearest police station, where you would report the accident and exchange personal information. Establishing good habits. It is paramount that good habits be built into daily activities. Some examples include describing people and places to yourself as you explore locations, identifying and familiarizing yourself with all exits, and keeping yourself on the alert. Your senses are your guide to all situations and environments, and you must learn to rely on them to ensure physical safety and situational awareness. Using other common sense tips, robberies and assaults are crimes of opportunity. Do not make yourself an obvious target. Learn to trust your instincts. If something does not feel right, there is likely something wrong. Recognize your own personal triggers. Be sensible about situations that may make you uncomfortable, and practice a stronger sense of situational awareness during these times. So going back to the photos, the one with the bags. So what's wrong with the bags? Well, colleagues and guests have left items in the front and back seats of vehicles parked in our garages. Criminals routinely look for these types of items and will break the glass to remove the items in your vehicle. Best practice is secure the personal items in a trunk of the vehicle and out of view. So the same goes with this next slide where the keys are left in the car, leaving your keys in the ignition. You can see the person looking through the window. And the reason why the lady has her cell phone are a lot of times colleagues and guests are observed distracted by cell phones when walking to and from the lots. This is another crime of opportunity. If someone sees you with your phone out not paying attention, they can come up and do that crime of opportunity. So walking in the alley alone or down a street, do not walk alone at night. Colleagues and guests should walk with at least one other person. Criminals are less likely to approach two people as opposed to someone alone. Be proactive, always have a plan for where you're going and where you're coming from. The dark alley, just be aware of your surroundings. If you're walking and you see someone and you don't feel comfortable, go a different way, or like the last slide said, find someone to walk with. The two people fighting, the next few slides are kind of the same. Avoid putting yourself in a dangerous situation. Just because we're there to stop fighting doesn't mean you have to get involved yourself, because if someone has a weapon, you are now a victim. Call for help, call 911, keep a safe distance until help arrives. And the same thing with this, avoid getting yourself put in a situation where you now become a victim, call for help and call 911. Same thing with this photo, make smart choices. What does your gut tell you? Probably not the smartest idea to be picking someone up on the side of the road to give them a ride. You don't know who they are, you don't know what they have on their person or what their overall intent is. So the vehicle fire, again, call 911. Cars have fuels and batteries, so is there a secondary explosion? Again, don't make yourself a victim. Keep a safe distance until help arrives. The final photo here, is the scene safe? Absolutely not. You got several vehicles. Is there a civil unrest? What are they fighting about? Are they going to reach in the vehicle and pull out a weapon? Keep your distance and call 911. If you don't have any questions, that's going to be the end of this slideshow on situational awareness. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out. And remember, at the end of the day, we just want everyone to be safe. Thank you.